Chapter 198. Elder Long, Elder Wild Rhino, the two of you can wait outside. Lu Yuan turned around and said to Long Xiaoyaro and the frenzy Rhino Douluo. Yes, Master. Yes, young Master Yuan. Lu Yuan nodded. After that, he pushed open the door and walked in. Creak. Lu Yuan closed the door and walked in. There was a screen outside Cher's room. There were intricate patterns of fishes and birds on it. Lu Yuan walked around the screen. There was a huge bed inside. Chihiro Snow was sitting on the edge of the bed. His back was facing Lu Yuan. When he heard footsteps behind him, Chihiro Snow's pleasant voice sounded, "You're here." "Yes." Lu Yuan acknowledged softly. After that, he quickly walked towards Chihiro Snow. "Cher." Lu Yuan called out softly. Chihiro Snow turned around and revealed an almost perfect face. The purity and holiness of an angel was vividly displayed on Chihiro Snow's body. Lu Yuan was stunned at first glance. Shui was actually using her original appearance. "Cher, why didn't you disguise yourself?" Lu Yuan asked. Chihiro Snow glared at Lu Yuan and said, "Would you let me wear a disguise when I'm with you?" "No." Lu Yuan laughed. After that, he understood. When he was alone with Chihiro Snow, he naturally wanted to see Cher's beautiful face. Who wanted to see Shui Qingha's ugly face? Although he looked alright and had a scholarly aura, he still had a man's face. When he saw Chihiro Snow's face, Lu Yuan felt a little uncomfortable. Especially when he wanted to take advantage of her. "Then why are you asking this question?" Chihiro Snow rolled his eyes. That moment of flirtation was truly captivating. Lu Yuan took a few steps forward and stood in front of Chihiro Snow. He gently held Chihiro Snow's hand and held it in his palm. Shui's hand was soft and warm, and it felt surprisingly good to the touch. When Lu Yuan held her hand, Chihiro Snow glanced at him helplessly. However, she didn't retract her hand. They had kissed many times. Holding hands was no longer embarrassing for Chihiro Snow. "Shui, is the situation all right now?" Lu Yuan asked as he gently pinched the soft cloth in his hand and looked into Qian Runshue's beautiful eyes. "The situation now is not bad. Avalanche was beaten 20 times by the Snow Knight Emperor and imprisoned in the prince's residence. Prince Shui Xing was also punished by the Snow Knight Emperor. His influence in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy has almost been completely wiped out. Now, the entire Heaven Do Imperial Academy is under my control. Furthermore, the Snowy Knight Emperor is quite satisfied with my performance this time. My position is now more and more stable, and my prestige has also increased a lot. Among the ministers who were originally neutral, there are also many who intend to submit to me. Stinky guy, your plan has succeeded," Chihiro Snow said softly. Lu Yuan lightly nodded and reached out to touch Chihiro Snow's face. It was warm and smooth to the touch. Chihiro Snow unhappily glared at Lu Yuan. "This guy likes to take advantage of me whenever I'm with him. However, I don't seem to dislike this feeling. Instead, I have an indescribable expectation in my heart. This is really strange." "Then what about Ning Fengji?" Lu Yuan asked softly. "Now that your position is becoming more and more stable, does that old fox not have any thoughts of placing a bet on you? According to the current situation, if something happens to the Snow Knight Emperor, the only one who can inherit the throne is you. That old fox should be able to see that. According to his personality, it's impossible for him to not do anything. Ning Fengji actually supports my idea. However, he said a lot, but it's all just words. There's no actual expression," Chihiro Snow said. "Ah, that old fox is still so cautious. It seems like he still has some misgivings in his heart," Lu Yuan said. "However, there's no rush. Take it step by step. With your current situation, you'll be able to control the Heaven Do Empire sooner or later. By the way, Cher, have you poisoned the Snow Knight Emperor?" Lu Yuan asked. It's a slow-acting poison. However, it's extremely poisonous. There's no antidote. The Snow Knight Emperor will definitely die sooner or later. However, it might take a few years," Chihiro Snow said. "There's no antidote. Lu Yuan shook his head and said, "Everything in the world has its own antidote. There's no poison that can't be cured. Share, don't be too careless." As he spoke, Lu Yuan recalled the original plot. The poison that Shuero used was a poison specially developed by the Peliji clan. It was a very strange mixture of poisons. Neither Dugu Bo nor Tangsan could cure it, but the Peliji clan's patriarch, Yong Wudi, could. This was a hidden danger. He had to think of a way to get rid of it. Lu Yuan couldn't allow any accidents to happen to Share. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow nodded. Indeed, Lu Yuan's words made sense. Lu Yuan smiled and gently wrapped his arm around Chen Renshue's waist, pulling her into his embrace. The two of them hugged tightly for a while. Chihiro Snow sighed and said, "Rascal, don't you have anything to say to me about the Dragon Emperor Douluo?" Lu Yuan was stunned. Indeed, he still had to face this problem. "Share, come, let's sit down and talk." Lu Yuan pulled Chihiro Snow to sit down. "Come, tell me. I'm listening." Chihiro Snow sat down and stared at Lu Yuan with her beautiful eyes. Then, "Share, where do you want to start?" Lu Yuan asked. "Everything." Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan and said, "I'll be lenient if you confess, but I'll be strict if you resist. I want to know the whole story. Don't leave out anything." "I'll be lenient if I confess." Lu Yuan sighed and said, "All right, then I'll tell you about Elder Long. I'll have to start from my martial soul and bloodline." "Martial soul and bloodline?" Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan curiously. "Yes, you know that my martial soul is the Golden Dragon," Lu Yuan said. Chen Renshue nodded her head. She was well aware of this. She had experienced the power of Lu Yuan's Golden Dragon martial soul. It was definitely not inferior to her six-winged angel martial soul. But when did Lu Yuan have another bloodline? She knew nothing about it. "Actually, other than my Golden Dragon martial soul, I also have a pure Golden Dragon bloodline," Lu Yuan said softly. "Why don't I know about this?" Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan. "Because my Golden Dragon bloodline only awakened after you left. I didn't know about it before that." With that, Lu Yuan explained the process of his bloodline awakening to Chihiro Snow. Chihiro Snow listened and nodded from time to time. "So that's how it is. Your bloodline actually broke through the shackles and completely awakened under the pressure of the golden crocodile," Chihiro Snow said softly. Her tone was relieved. This happened after she left. This meant that this rascal didn't hide it from her. Chihiro Snow felt much better. However, she still had questions. "Then, what does this have to do with the Dragon Emperor Douluo?" Chapter 199. Hearing Chihiro Snow's question, Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, "Do you know what Elder Long's martial soul is?" Chihiro Snow tapped her delicate chin with her slender fingers and said, "It should be a dragon martial soul. Since his title is the Dragon Emperor and he has reached the level of an ultimate Douluo, his martial soul must not be weak. I think it should not be inferior to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. Haha." Lu Yuan chuckled and nodded gently at Chihiro Snow's delicate nose. Under the latter's reproachful gaze, he said, "What is the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon?" "Elder Long's martial soul is the Darkness Holy Dragon with pure dragon bloodline. In today's continent, besides me and you, there is almost no one whose martial soul is superior to his, including your grandfather. Share, if I'm not wrong, your six-winged angel should be different from the great consecrator's six-winged angel martial soul, right?" Lu Yuan asked. "Yes." Chihiro Snow nodded. She was chosen by the angel god. Her martial soul was stronger than Sendryu and Chihiro disease. "Darkness Holy Dragon," Chihiro Snow said softly with a trace of surprise in her voice because she did not know much about this martial soul. "The Darkness Holy Dragon controls the ultimate power of darkness. It is an ultimate martial soul, but it is slightly stronger than ordinary ultimate martial souls because it has pure dragon bloodline. It is worthy of being called a superb martial soul," Lu Yuan said with a smile. All ultimate martial souls were superb. This was an iron law. The ultimate martial soul was one of the most representative superb martial souls. Lu Yuan's golden dragon was also an ultimate martial soul, but it had ultimate power. If you don't know much about the Darkness Holy Dragon, then I think you should be familiar with the name Golden Holy Dragon, Lu Yuan said softly. Golden Holy Dragon? I know. Chihiro Snow nodded. She had heard of this martial soul before. It was quite famous among beast souls. It was said that there was a golden iron triangle in the world of soul masters, and their martial soul fusion skill was the Golden Holy Dragon. The so-called Golden Holy Dragon actually has another name, and that is the Radiant Holy Dragon. It controls the ultimate power of light, and it happens to be one light and one darkness with the Darkness Holy Dragon. Both of them are of the same level, Lu Yuan said. I see. Chihiro Snow muttered softly. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, she finally understood how powerful the Darkness Holy Dragon was. Just as Lu Yuan had said, apart from her and Lu Yuan, no one else in the Douluo continent had a martial soul that was stronger than Long Xiaoyao's. The Darkness Holy Dragon is indeed a very powerful martial spirit, Chihiro Snow said. Hee. Lu Yuan giggled and said, no matter how powerful the Darkness Holy Dragon is, it will still be suppressed by my Golden Dragon. You're the only powerful one, aren't you? Chihiro Snow slapped Lu Yuan's arm in amusement, and the corner of her mouth curled into a smile. Indeed, Lu Yuan's Golden Dragon was the best beast soul in the world, and it could suppress almost all other beast souls. You still haven't told me how you met the Dragon Emperor Douluo, and why he calls you Lord. Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan with a serious expression. An ultimate Douluo was no small matter, so she had to find out more before she could be at ease. Furthermore, she hoped that there were no secrets between her and Lu Yuan. She didn't want this man in front of her to hide anything from her, because this man in front of her knew everything about her. She also hoped that she could know everything about him. She was very afraid, because Lu Yuan, whom she thought she had already seen through, was shrouded in a layer of fog. This made Chihiro Snow a little worried. She had finally experienced the feeling of being loved, and she didn't want to lose it. Therefore, she wanted to hold Lu Yuan tightly in her hands. Chihiro Snow was different from other girls. She had experienced a lot of pain since she was young, and she had developed a pretty good mind and skills. However, she lacked love since she was young, so she cherished every relationship she had. Lu Yuan had already entered her heart, and she wanted to hold on to this love between her and Lu Yuan. She didn't want to lose it. Therefore, she cared a lot about everything related to Lu Yuan, just like how Lu Yuan cared about everything about her. It was because she loved him that she valued him. To Chihiro Snow, it wasn't important how Long Xiaoyao came about. She only wanted Lu Yuan to give her a reasonable explanation. She wanted to prove that Lu Yuan cared a lot about her, and that was her true goal. Speaking of which, it's a little coincidental. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, that day, I was oppressed by the golden crocodile, and I awakened the golden dragon's bloodline. The golden dragon's bloodline is extremely noble. Others might not be able to sense it, but it's not difficult for those who possess dragon martial souls, especially soul masters with pure dragon bloodlines, to sense it. Not long after I returned that day, I went to the plum garden to practice my spear as usual. Chihiro Snow listened softly. When she heard Lu Yuan mention the plum garden, a look of gentleness flashed across her eyes. That was the place where she met Lu Yuan. To her, the plum garden was the happiest time of her life. When I was in the mood to practice the spear, the power in my blood began to circulate involuntarily. After I finished practicing a set of spear techniques, I discovered that an elder had appeared not far away from me. That elder was Elder Long, Lu Yuan said softly. Ah. Chihiro Snow opened her red lips slightly. When Elder Long saw me, he sized me up. In the end, he took the initiative to acknowledge me as his master. He insisted that I was the person they had been waiting for a long time, and that I was destined to recreate the glory of the dragon god. I was really stunned then. Lu Yuan laughed bitterly as he said, "What?" Chihiro Snow opened her beautiful eyes wide and said, "Doesn't this mean that the Dragon Emperor Douluo is similar to the angels? Didn't the angels also wait for 10,000 years for someone who could inherit the position of an angel?" Recreating the glory of the angels and spreading the glory of the angels across the entire continent was very similar to what Long Xiaoyaro had described. Maybe. Lu Yuan spread out his hands and said, "That's all I know. Elder Long has been by my side since that day until he appeared this time. You should know the rest." Chihiro Snow stared intently at Lu Yuan and said softly, "Rascal, I feel that your background isn't simple. The Golden Dragon martial soul and the Golden Dragon bloodline aren't things that ordinary people can possess." "Maybe." Lu Yuan laughed softly and said, "No matter what secrets my identity may have, I'm now a member of the Martial Soul Palace. I'm also the Lu Yuan who loves you. That's enough." "Okay." Chihiro Snow nodded gently before burrowing into Lu Yuan's embrace. "Rascal, don't let me down," Chihiro Snow muttered softly. As Lu Yuan's identity became stranger and stranger, she became more and more worried. She and Lu Yuan were originally very compatible. However, Lu Yuan had obtained a divine seed and was favored by a god. After that, an ultimate Douluo like Long Xiaoyaro had submitted to him. Furthermore, the dragon god was involved. Chihiro Snow was a little worried. Lu Yuan's status had risen, and she wondered if he would look down on her in the future. Chapter 200. If not for the fact that love was the most wonderful thing in the world, even a proud daughter of heaven like Chihiro Snow would be no different from an ordinary girl after being tainted by love. She would also let her imagination run wild because of her feelings, be worried and afraid that her lover would not want her anymore. Seeing that Chihiro Snow also had such worries, Lu Yuan could not help but laugh involuntarily. Chihiro Snow's talent and beauty were 1 in a million, and she was the first person in the original work to become a god. In this Douluo continent, was there any woman nobler and more outstanding than Chihiro Snow? Even Bibidon could not surpass Chihiro Snow. Therefore, Chihiro Snow did not have to worry at all, because there was no one more outstanding than her. "Oh, that's not right, there seems to be one more, but she is not a human, so she should not be counted," Lu Yuan thought to himself. Lu Yuan gently stroked Chihiro Snow's golden hair and said softly, "Don't worry, Cher, I would rather betray the world than betray you. In this life, you are destined to be mine, you can't run away." Chihiro Snow nodded, feeling rather moved. Not only did she not reject Lu Yuan's domineering behavior, she even liked it. Lying quietly in Lu Yuan's arms, this feeling of having someone to rely on was really good. No matter how outstanding Chihiro Snow was, no matter how decisive she was still a woman in the end. She also hoped that there would be a man who could give her warmth and support when she was tired. Fortunately, she found such a man. He treated her like a pearl and a treasure, helped her share her burdens, and thought of her in everything he did. She really did not have much resistance against such a person, and she slowly fell into his arms. Looking at Chihiro Snow in his arms, Lu Yuan lowered his head slightly. Woo! Their lips met, and Lu Yuan kissed to his heart's content. Chihiro Snow's eyes were filled with deep affection, and she passionately responded to Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan tightly hugged the person in his arms. Chihiro Snow's body was very soft, and it was very comfortable to hug. Lu Yuan gently hugged Chihiro Snow's waist and kissed her hard. After a long time, their lips parted. Chihiro Snow's face was a little red, and her hands were wrapped around Lu Yuan's neck. The two were very close. Lu Yuan's face. Lu gently stroked Chihiro Snow's face. Chihiro Snow's face. Chihiro Snow. Chihiro Snow. Chen Renshue carefully examined Lu Yuan's flawless face. Lu Yuan's appearance was rare in the world, and sometimes Chen Renshue would be entranced just by looking at him. After all, men weren't the only ones who would drool over a woman's beauty. Sometimes, women would drool over a man's beauty as well. Smelly guy, he's really handsome, Chihiro Snow thought to himself. But this guy is so handsome, he must be a womanizer. Chihiro Snow suddenly thought of something. Stinking brat. He called out softly. Cher, what's the matter? Lu Yuan asked softly. Will you only love me for the rest of your life? Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan expectantly. Hearing this, Lu Yuan was stunned and then fell silent. He didn't want to lie to Cher. His senior sister and Zhu Qing were already existences that he couldn't bear to part with. Seeing that Lu Yuan was silent, the anticipation on Chihiro Snow's pretty face disappeared without a trace and was replaced by a faint sense of loss. "Cher, I'm sorry." Lu Yuan felt a little ashamed. "Is it Helena?" Chihiro Snow asked faintly. Lu Yuan raised his head with a look of surprise on his face. "Cher, how did you know?" He was sure that Sendryu hadn't told Cher about the matter between Helena and Zhu Qing. Otherwise, Cher would have already flared up the moment they met and wouldn't have waited until now to ask this question. "I guessed right, it's really her," Chihiro Snow said indifferently. "Other than her, you won't be able to come into contact with any other girl. As expected of a vixen, she actually took advantage of my absence to secretly take you down." Chihiro Snow was a little angry. This Helena actually took advantage of her absence to steal him. This was too much. Hearing this, Lu Yuan fell silent. "Lu Yuan." Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan with a serious expression. "If you had to choose between her and me, who would you choose?" "I don't choose one, I want both," Lu Yuan said. "You." Chihiro Snow stared fiercely at Lu Yuan. "Cher." Lu Yuan pulled Chihiro Snow's jade hand and looked at Chihiro Snow with gentle eyes. After looking at each other for a long time, Chihiro Snow sighed softly and said, "Fine, I won't make things difficult for you. I have a request." Facing Lu Yuan, Chihiro Snow finally took a step back. No matter what, she couldn't really fall out with Lu Yuan. She had already fallen deeply in love with Lu Yuan and couldn't give up. Since she couldn't give up, she could only compromise. "Cher, you say it." Lu Yuan smiled and looked at Chihiro Snow. "I want to make it big," Chihiro Snow said. "Okay." Lu Yuan agreed immediately. Chihiro Snow was the first. First come, first served. There was nothing wrong with making it big. That's more like it. Hearing Lu Yuan agree to her request without hesitation, Chihiro Snow's expression became much better. This stinky guy still loved her more after all. Seeing that Chihiro Snow didn't seem to be angry anymore, Lu Yuan mustered up his courage. "Cher, there's something I want to tell you." "Say it." Chihiro Snow glared at Lu Yuan. "Actually, there's one more," Lu Yuan said while looking at Chihiro Snow's expression. "Stinky fellow, go and die." Chihiro Snow was stunned for a moment. After that, a frightening strength surged out. "Ah!" From Qian Renshue's boudoir, Lu Yuan's blood-curdling scream rang out. Outside the room, the four titled Douluo were shocked when they heard the screams from inside. "Nothing bad happened, right?" the frenzy rhino Douluo asked. The snake spear Douluo and the thorny pufferfish Douluo shrugged at the same time, indicating that they didn't know either. Long Xiaoyaro extended his spiritual power. There was a weird expression on his face. He coughed and said, "Nothing's wrong. We'll just wait outside." Hearing this, the other three titled Douluo nodded. Since this elder said so, it shouldn't be a big deal. As he recalled what he had just experienced, Long Xiaoyaro sighed in his heart. "Master, there's a price to pay for being fickle." As he spoke, he turned around. Long Xiaoyaro didn't have the right to interfere with his master's relationship. He only had to listen to her orders. Hiss. Lu Yuan touched the bruises on his face. They were caused by Chihiro Snow's punches. Cher was really angry. She even used her power of purification. Lu Yuan didn't dare to retaliate, so his face was bruised. Fortunately, he had the clear aura god power and the power of the ocean from the sea god's heart. He quickly dispelled the power of purification from his bruises. After the power of purification was dispelled, the bruises on his face naturally disappeared. Instantly, the handsome Lu Yuan was back. Lu Yuan patted the dust off his body and lifted his head slightly. Not far away, Chihiro Snow was glaring at him. Chapter 201. Cher. Lu Yuan smiled awkwardly. "Me." Chihiro Snow snorted coldly. "Hee." Lu Yuan walked forward and sat beside Chihiro Snow, looking at Chihiro Snow with a grin. Seeing Lu Yuan's smiling expression, Chihiro Snow's face turned serious, snorted, and turned her head to the side. Lu Yuan didn't care. He changed his direction and sat on the other side of Chihiro Snow, still looking at Chihiro Snow with a grin. Chihiro Snow glared at Lu Yuan fiercely, but Lu Yuan didn't care at all. He just looked at her with a smile, with a trace of gentleness in his eyes. Rogue. After staring at each other for a long time, Chihiro Snow finally lost the battle. Seeing Chihiro Snow speak, Lu Yuan was relieved. It was good that she spoke. It meant that Cher's anger had subsided. It would be troublesome if she didn't speak. Cher. Lu Yuan said softly. This is the last one, do you hear me? Chihiro Snow stared at Lu Yuan's eyes. In the end, Chihiro Snow took another step back, but this was her bottom line. She wouldn't take another step back. Well, I promise. Lu Yuan said righteously. Lu Yuan, you've let me down. Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan with eyes full of grievances. In her world, there was only Lu Yuan, but in Lu Yuan's world, she wasn't the only one. She was a dignified existence, but she actually had to share a man with another woman. This was a huge torture for Chihiro Snow. If she didn't really love the man in front of her, with her pride, she would never accept such a thing. Cher, it's all my fault. Lu Yuan took Chihiro Snow into his arms with pity. He felt the most sorry for the person in front of him. Alas! Lu Yuan sighed softly. Being held in Lu Yuan's arms, Chihiro Snow didn't struggle. She just said softly, "Stinky guy, from now on, I want you to love me more and make it up to me. The one you love the most can only be me." Even if she shared the same man as Hu Liena and Zhu Zhuqing, she would still get the most love. Lu Yuan could only love her the most in his heart. This was Chihiro Snow's stubbornness. Yes, the one I love the most will always be you. Lu Yuan said softly. Chihiro Snow's position in his heart was irreplaceable. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, a smile finally appeared on Chihiro Snow's face. "Stinky guy, remember what you said today," Chihiro Snow said. "Yes, I will remember it forever," Lu Yuan said as he gently stroked Chihiro Snow's soft golden hair. Chihiro Snow leaned into Lu Yuan's arms and felt the powerful heartbeat from Lu Yuan's chest with a smile on her face. Suddenly, Chihiro Snow seemed to have thought of something. "Stinky guy, you asked for the vast sea cosmic shroud last time. Is there something special about it?" "Oh, that's right, I almost forgot about it." Lu Yuan gently released Chihiro Snow and extended his right hand. Immediately, the vast sea cosmic shroud flew out from between his brows and landed in Lu Yuan's hand. Look. Lu Yuan gently injected his soul power into the vast sea cosmic shroud, and blue light immediately flashed. A huge shroud enveloped him and Chihiro Snow. This is one of the effects, invisibility. Not only can it hide our figures, but it can also hide our aura. People outside definitely won't be able to discover us. When I came here just now, I used it to swagger in, so I didn't have to worry about exposing my whereabouts. Furthermore, with this thing, I can see you whenever I want to. I won't have to worry about anyone discovering us. This is a good thing. Chihiro Snow nodded as he looked at the blue shroud around them. That's one of its effects. What about the others? A faint smile appeared on Lu Yuan's face. Aside from invisibility, the vast sea cosmic shroud has 3 other abilities. The first skill is called the vast sea protective shroud, which is the skill from just now. The second skill is called the vast sea stasis shroud, which can bind a person's body and immobilize them. Lu Yuan activated the vast sea cosmic shroud in his hand as he spoke. The vast sea cosmic shroud abruptly expanded and enveloped Chihiro Snow's body. Immediately, Chihiro Snow was immobilized. Lu Yuan withdrew the vast sea cosmic shroud and looked at Chihiro Snow's astonished expression. The third skill is called the vast sea storm, and the fourth skill is called the cosmic devil breaker. One is an area of effect attack, while the other is a single target attack. No matter which skill I use, it will exhaust all of my soul power. However, at the same time, these skills are also very powerful. The vast sea cosmic shroud really is something, Chihiro Snow said softly. Hihi, that's not even the most valuable part of the vast sea cosmic shroud. Lu Yuan chuckled. Oh. Chihiro Snow was a little curious. One had to know that the vast sea cosmic shroud's 4 skills were all extraordinarily powerful, but that still wasn't its most valuable part. Cher, do you know what the vast sea cosmic shroud's other name is? Lu Yuan asked. No. Chihiro Snow shook his head. The vast sea cosmic shroud's other name is the sea god's heart. The sea god's heart. Chihiro Snow was astonished. Could it be related to the sea god? That's right. The sea god's heart is an extremely important item in the sea god's inheritance. It can be said that you've obtained half of the sea god's inheritance with it. What? Chihiro Snow's face was filled with astonishment, and he looked at Lu Yuan with relief in his eyes. No wonder you wanted this thing. Could it be that you want to inherit the sea god's divine seat? Inherit the sea god's divine seat? Lu Yuan shook his head, and said, I'm not interested in the sea god's divine seat. I already have a divine seed, so I'm going to create my own divine seat in the future. Even if I don't create my own divine seat, I have to find a higher level divine seat to inherit. The sea god's divine seat is still a little lacking. How arrogant! Chihiro Snow snapped. How dare this bastard look down on the sea god's divine seat? One had to realize that the sea god was a bona fide primary god, which was on the same level as the angel god that they worshipped, yet this bastard was still looking down on the sea god's divine seat. However, Chihiro Snow was starting to understand why Lu Yuan was saying this. He did indeed have the right to say something like this. Then what do you want this vast sea cosmic shroud for? Chihiro Snow asked. Hee. Lu Yuan chuckled, and said, come to think of it, it's quite a coincidence. I didn't want anything in the beginning, but when you mentioned compensation that day, I thought of this item. It would be a waste if I didn't take something as good as this. Even if I don't inherit the sea god's divine seat, it's still a good thing to have. Who knows, I might be able to use it someday. Furthermore, the power of the sea god within the sea god's heart is quite beneficial. I can feel that my spiritual power and constitution have become a lot stronger under the nourishment of the power of the sea god. Perhaps this third soul ring will allow me to challenge a 10,000-year existence. Chapter 202. Absorb a 10,000-year soul ring? Upon hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow's expression changed. Stinking brat, don't act recklessly. A 10,000-year soul beast is completely different from a 1,000-year soul beast. I know. Seeing the anxiousness on Chihiro Snow's face, it was clear that he was worried about him. Lu Yuan smiled slightly and said, a 10,000-year soul beast's intelligence has already been developed, and it's not much inferior to a human's. Therefore, when it absorbs a soul ring after death, it will experience a special condition unique to 10,000-year soul beasts, called spirit shock. You know about it? Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan curiously. One had to know that there weren't many people on the continent who knew about spirit shock. In the original novel, even Grandmaster didn't know about it. It was Xiao Wu who brought it up because she was a 100,000-year soul beast. It was understandable that Grandmaster didn't know about it because his strength wasn't enough to support his research on 10,000-year soul beasts. In other words, his strength wasn't at the level where he could come into contact with these things. As for the other teachers of Shrek Academy, they were all unorthodox and hadn't received any systematic education. It was normal that they didn't know about these things. The reason why Soul Masters could only absorb 10,000-year soul rings after becoming Soul Kings was because of their physique. A Soul King's physique was enough to withstand the pressure of a 10,000-year soul ring. The other reason was because once a Soul King reached the Soul King rank, a Soul Master's spiritual power would be strong enough, and his soul would be stable. Only at this stage would a Soul Master be able to withstand the spirit shock of a 10,000-year soul beast. In the Martial Soul Palace, there weren't many people who knew about this. Basically, only titled Soul Masters and above knew about it. Chihiro Snow didn't expect Lu Yuan to know about it. Since you know, why do you still want to try? Aren't you afraid of exploding? Chihiro Snow glared at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan chuckled and said, since I've said it, I definitely have my own reasons. There are actually 2 factors that determine the number of years a soul ring can absorb. The first is the physical body. I believe that my current physical body is already capable of withstanding the power of a 10,000-year soul ring. Cher, what do you think? Chihiro Snow nodded. Even though Lu Yuan was only at rank 29, he possessed the Golden Dragon martial soul and the Golden Dragon bloodline. He even had a soul bone. Later on, he was nourished by the divine power of clear air and the power of the vast ocean. It was more than enough for him to withstand the pressure of a 10,000-year soul ring. But what about his spiritual power? One had to know that the most difficult thing to deal with when absorbing a 10,000-year soul ring was the spiritual shock. As for the second factor, spiritual power, Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow and said with a smile, "Actually, my strongest point isn't my physical body, but my spiritual power. Cher, my spiritual power is above yours." "I don't believe it." Chihiro Snow shook his head. If Lu Yuan said that his physical body was stronger than his, then Chihiro Snow would accept it. After all, the Golden Dragon's physical body was the strongest among all martial souls. His six-winged angel was far inferior in this aspect. However, Chihiro Snow didn't believe that Lu Yuan could surpass him in terms of spiritual power. "Then let's compete," Lu Yuan said. "Okay." Chihiro Snow said, "How do we compete?" "Let's release our spiritual power at the same time and compete. Won't we know?" "Okay." Chihiro Snow agreed, but he was a little shocked. Releasing spiritual power wasn't something that an ordinary soul master could do. Apart from spiritual-type soul masters, other soul masters had to be at least a soul king to be able to release their spiritual power. Furthermore, the distance they could release their spiritual power was very limited. Her soul power was at rank 49, and with the advantage of her martial soul, her spiritual power was close to that of a soul emperor. She could release her spiritual power outside her body. However, Lu Yuan was only at rank 29, and yet he could release his spiritual power. Didn't this mean that his spiritual power wasn't weaker than a soul king's? How was this possible? That's too perverted. Chihiro Snow was skeptical. He closed his eyes and began to circulate his spiritual power. Generally speaking, soul masters who didn't specialize in spiritual-type soul masters or had skull bones wouldn't be able to use their spiritual power to attack their enemies. Purely releasing spiritual power consumed a lot of spiritual power. Furthermore, it didn't have much power. Therefore, soul masters generally wouldn't release their spiritual power during a battle, even if they were high-ranking soul masters. The gains didn't make up for the losses. However, if it was just a contest of spiritual power, it would be possible. Chihiro Snow's spiritual power spread out from her body and pressed down on Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan couldn't help but nod his head when he sensed the strength of Chihiro Snow's spiritual power. Chihiro Snow's spiritual power was comparable to that of an ordinary low-level soul emperor. For someone her age, she was considered very outstanding. This strength was comparable to before he obtained his polychoria. It was much stronger than Helena's current spiritual power. One had to know that Helena was a spiritual-type soul master. Lu Yuan estimated that Helena's spiritual power was around that of a soul king's. This was only achieved after her martial soul evolved. Of course, he couldn't say that Helena was weak. Helena had just become a soul ancestor. It was rare for a soul ancestor to have spiritual power like Helena's. After all, there was only one Chihiro Snow. She was the future angel god. How could she be ordinary? This was just pure spiritual power. Once she used her skills, Helena's charm could pose a huge threat to a soul king. Chihiro Snow herself didn't use her spiritual power to fight. Of course, this was only limited to now. Once Chihiro Snow absorbed the angel skull, the situation would be different. Lu Yuan smiled when he felt Chihiro Snow's spiritual power surge towards him. His spiritual power spread out and collided with Chihiro Snow's spiritual power. Chihiro Snow's delicate body trembled. A clash of spiritual power was much more dangerous than a clash of physical strength. If one wasn't careful, it could easily cause a huge injury. However, Lu Yuan grasped the situation very well. When he felt Chihiro Snow's spiritual power weaken, Lu Yuan immediately withdrew his own. He gently embraced Chihiro Snow's delicate body. "Cher, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Chihiro Snow lay in Lu Yuan's arms with a hint of astonishment on her face. She didn't think that Lu Yuan's spiritual power would be so strong. If Lu Yuan hadn't withdrawn his spiritual power in time, her spiritual power would have most likely been damaged. "Stinky brat, what level is your spiritual power at?" Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan with a curious look on her face. "It should be around the same level as an ordinary soul sage." Lu Yuan smiled. When he first obtained his dual pupils in the ancient ruins, his spiritual power was still comparable to that of a high-grade soul emperor. However, after he obtained the vast sea cosmic shroud, which was also the sea god's heart, the sea god took the initiative to transform his mind and body. During this process, Lu Yuan's spiritual power finally increased again, and he became a soul sage. Chapter 203. What? Chihiro Snow couldn't help but exclaim. This guy's spiritual power isn't much weaker than a soul sage's. Chihiro Snow looked at him with a strange look in her eyes. "What's wrong, Cher? Why are you looking at me like that?" Lu Yuan smiled and asked. "Pervert." Chihiro Snow spat out 2 words from her red lips. Lu Yuan chuckled. To be able to hear the word pervert from a proud girl like Chihiro Snow was the greatest compliment to him. "That's why, as long as my body can withstand it, a 10,000-year soul ring isn't a problem for me. This is because my spiritual power is stronger than my physical body." Lu Yuan smiled as he spoke. His physical body was comparable to a high-level soul king, but his spiritual power was at the level of a soul sage. In theory, he could absorb a 20,000-year soul ring. Of course, if the soul beast was stronger, the age limit might be reduced. After all, the higher the rank of the soul beast, the more tyrannical its soul power would be. But no matter what, absorbing a 10,000-year soul ring wasn't a fantasy for Lu Yuan right now. On the contrary, it wasn't very difficult for him to do it. Chihiro Snow felt complicated as she watched Lu Yuan speak with assurance. Right now, her physical body and spiritual power were inferior to Lu Yuan's. Perhaps she could only rely on the difference of 20 ranks between them to suppress him. However, with this stinky fellow's cultivation speed, this difference in soul power would only become smaller and smaller. "It seems like this fellow will surpass me soon." Chihiro Snow felt proud of Lu Yuan, but she also felt a little anxious. "I can't let this rascal drag me down. Otherwise, I won't be able to bully him. It seems like I have to work hard in the future." Chihiro Snow thought to herself. "Cher, what are you thinking about?" Lu Yuan tapped the tip of Chihiro Snow's nose gently. "Nothing," Chihiro Snow said. "Really?" Lu Yuan gently pinched Chihiro Snow's nose and said with a smile, "It's not a good habit to lie to people." "Me." Chihiro Snow snorted and turned his head away arrogantly. Lu Yuan smiled and stroked Chihiro Snow's hair. How could he not know what Chihiro Snow was thinking? He lowered his head and kissed Chihiro Snow's face gently. He said softly, "Cher, in front of you, I'll always be the Lu Yuan who doesn't fight back when you hit or scold me." "Always?" "Yes." Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chen Renshua's heart was filled with gratitude. She could not help but smile as she said proudly, "You said it yourself." "Of course," Lu Yuan said with a smile. The two hugged for a while. Chihiro Snow looked at the dark sky outside and said, "It's already late. Why don't you go back first?" "Go back?" Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow and said, "It's already late. It'll be dawn when we go back. Cher, why don't I stay tonight?" "What did you say?" Chihiro Snow stared at Lu Yuan with a blush on his face. "Nothing. I mean, I want to sleep with you tonight. What do you think?" Lu Yuan smiled and hugged Chihiro Snow's waist. "No," Chihiro Snow said. "Why?" "Cher, do you dislike me?" Lu Yuan pretended to be wronged and said, "Of course not." Chihiro Snow turned his face away embarrassedly and said, I'm not ready." Hee. Lu Yuan laughed and said, "I don't want to do anything else. I just want to hug you and sleep. What do you need to prepare?" "Really?" Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan with eyes full of suspicion. Hey, Cher, what's with your eyes? Do I look like the kind of person who can't wait? Lu Yuan said. You do. Chihiro Snow said straightforwardly. Lu Yuan, I don't care if you believe it or not. I'm not leaving tonight. Lu Yuan simply acted shamelessly and lay on the bed, looking like he didn't care about anything. Rascal. Looking at Lu Yuan's actions, Chihiro Snow shook his head in amusement and anger. The next morning, Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow, who was sleeping soundly in his arms with a smile on his face. This girl's words were arrogant, but in the end, she still hugged him tightly and refused to let go. Hair, women. Lu Yuan carefully looked at Chihiro Snow's sleeping face. Her golden hair was stuck to her beautiful cheeks. It was less sacred, but more lazy and cute. Chihiro Snow was extremely beautiful. At least until now, no one Lu Yuan had seen could compare to Chihiro Snow in terms of appearance. The #1 beauty of the Douluo continent lived up to her name. As if sensing Lu Yuan's gaze, Chihiro Snow opened her beautiful eyes. You're awake. Lu Yuan revealed a smile and said, How was it, Cher? I didn't lie, did I? I didn't do anything bad to you. Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan and was a little surprised. This guy actually didn't do anything bad. She was very clear about how charming she was. It seemed that this stinky guy's self-control was quite strong. However, Chihiro Snow naturally wouldn't admit defeat verbally. You're worse than a beast. Chihiro Snow snorted arrogantly. What did you say? Lu Yuan immediately became angry. Good fellow, she actually dared to say that about him. If he didn't do some beastly things to prove himself, he wouldn't be able to do anything. Lu Yuan turned around and pressed Chihiro Snow's delicate body under him. He lowered his head and covered Chihiro Snow's red lips. His right hand began to run amok. Chihiro Snow was shocked. She quickly grabbed Lu Yuan's hand and looked at Lu Yuan pitifully. Lu Yuan let go of Chihiro Snow's red lips and said, Are you still worse than a beast? No. Chihiro Snow quickly shook her head and said. Lu Yuan stared at Chihiro Snow's eyes and said, I love you and cherish you. In the end, you actually look at me like this. Do you know how hard it was for me to endure? I was wrong, I'm sorry. Chihiro Snow said softly. Just apologizing isn't enough. Your words made me very sad. You have to compensate me. Lu Yuan said. Then what compensation do you want? As long as I have it, I can give it to you. Chihiro Snow asked. For her, no matter what Lu Yuan wanted, she was willing to give it to him. I don't need you to give it to me. I'll take it myself. With that, Lu Yuan lowered his head again and covered Chihiro Snow's red lips. Woo. After putting on his clothes and tidying himself up, Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow, who was also dressed. He gently stroked Chihiro Snow's cheek and said, I'll be leaving first then. Okay. Chihiro Snow nodded lightly. Let's have a goodbye kiss before we part. Lu Yuan giggled. Chihiro Snow glanced at Lu Yuan in amusement, but she didn't reject him in the end. She took a step forward and pressed her red lips against Lu Yuan's lips. Yes, I feel much more relaxed and happy. Lu Yuan chuckled. He turned around and opened the door. The vast sea cosmic shroud flew out and landed in his hand. Just as Lu Yuan stepped out of the door, the system's cold voice suddenly sounded, Sign in mission, sign in location, Great Star Do Forest. Chapter 204. Sign in mission, Great Star Do Forest. Sign in time, 3 months. Rewards unknown. The system's cold voice sounded. Oh. Lu Yuan stopped in his tracks. Did the system give him another sign-in mission? 3 months is enough. I'm rank 29 now, but I'm not far from rank 30. I'll definitely break through in a few days. When that happens, I can even get a soul ring, Lu Yuan thought to himself. Master. Young Master Yuan. The 4-titled Douluo rushed over the moment Lu Yuan stepped out of his room. Lu Yuan was sleeping soundly in his room with Chihiro Snow in his arms. The 4 of them had been waiting outside for an entire night. Sigh, I'm going to cry if I talk too much. We're already so old, Yet we still have to go through such torture. The heavens are really unfair. All right, let's go. Lu Yuan nodded slightly. After that, he activated the vast sea cosmic shroud in his hand. Lu Yuan, Long Xiaoyaro, and the frenzied rhino Douluo disappeared. Is this the vast sea cosmic shroud? It's indeed magical, the snake spear Douluo said as he watched the three of them disappear. It is indeed magical. However, I'm more concerned about whether young Master Yuan and young Mistress. The thorny pufferfish Douluo said. They should have, the snake spear Douluo said as he tapped his chin. I don't think so. There wasn't much movement last night, the thorny pufferfish Douluo said. Much movement. The snake spear Douluo said, do you think they used the vast sea cosmic shroud to isolate themselves last night? Is that why we didn't hear anything? In fact, they already. That's very possible, the thorny pufferfish Douluo nodded. He felt that it made sense. What are the two of you talking about? Chihiro Snow's voice sounded. Nothing, young mistress. The two of them were shocked when they heard Chihiro Snow's voice. Lu Yuan made his way back to the Starblue Hotel. Now that the sign-in quest had been issued, it meant that he wouldn't be able to stay in Heaven Do Imperial City for much longer. Moreover, he was only a step away from level 30. He needed to break through as soon as possible. Furthermore, he didn't just tell Xiao Shui about Long Xiaoyao's background, he also told Xiao Shui about his senior sister and Zhu Zhuqing. He finally obtained Xiao Shui's approval. He didn't have to worry about the harem being set on fire in the future. Lu Yuan felt unusually relaxed now. To him, Qian Renxue was the most difficult one to deal with, because she was the most arrogant and the most overbearing. She was not as docile as Hu Liana and Zhu Zhuqing, but fortunately, he still managed to pacify her. Now, he was really free of worries. As for Ning Fengji, Lu Yuan decided to meet him again before he left. He wanted to build a good relationship with him. As for Xuere's side, Avalanche had been grounded in the prince's residence after being beaten 20 times, and Prince Xuexing had also been neglected by the Snow Knight Emperor. Xuere was currently in the limelight, and the situation was good. Even if he left now, Qian Renxue should be able to completely control the situation. Lu Yuan believed that she had the ability to do so. It wasn't for anything else, but because she was Chihiro Snow. Therefore, Lu Yuan only had two things in front of him. The first was to break through his cultivation. The second was to build a good relationship with Ning Fengji, so that he could make preparations to take over the Seven Treasures glazed sect in the future. Lu Yuan thought as he sat cross-legged. He started to circulate the clear air scripture and worked towards level 30. 1 month later. In this 1 month, not only did Lu Yuan break through his cultivation, he also pulled his relationship with Ning Fengji closer. Lu Yuan had planned for a long time, and Ning Fengji had the intention to become friends. They could be said to have hit it off immediately. Of course, during this period, Lu Yuan also acted cold and aloof. After all, he was like this in front of outsiders. Ning Fengji was smooth and slick, and had strong interpersonal skills. Basically, it was Ning Fengji who spoke. After meeting a few times, their relationship naturally became better. Now, Ning Fengji no longer called him young Master Lu. He had changed to Abuchi. In terms of familiarity and thick skin, one had to admit that Ning Fengji had some skills. But for his own future plans, Lu Yuan did not refute. It was just a title, and did not mean anything. He could also call him Uncle Ning. In terms of the thickness of his skin, he was not inferior to anyone. In the study of the Crown Prince's residence, Chihiro Snow and Lu Yuan were alone. Are you leaving? Chihiro Snow picked up the teapot and poured a cup of tea for Lu Yuan. Yes, I'm already level 30. I need to go to the Great Star Do Forest to get a soul ring. Lu Yuan said as he received the tea from Chihiro Snow. Then what do you plan to do after you absorb the soul ring? Will you come back? Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan with a trace of hope in his eyes. After I absorb the soul ring, I plan to train on the continent. I probably won't come back to Heaven Do Imperial City for a while, Lu Yuan said. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow's expression did not change, but there was a trace of reluctance in his eyes. Looking at Chihiro Snow's appearance, Lu Yuan suddenly stood up and came to Chihiro Snow's side. He pulled Chihiro Snow into his embrace. "Cher, are you reluctant to part with me?" Chihiro Snow glanced at Lu Yuan and said, "Stinky fellow, stop being so narcissistic. Who's reluctant to part with you? You're not speaking from your heart again." Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, "Swear, if you don't look up out of habit when you say this, then I will really believe you." As he spoke, Lu Yuan did not wait for Chihiro Snow to speak. "Cher, I'm reluctant to part with you too. If possible, I really want to see you every day." As Lu Yuan spoke, he gently kissed Chihiro Snow's forehead. "Stinky fellow." Chihiro Snow called out softly. "Although I'm reluctant to part with you, I still have to leave. I'm still very weak right now, and I have to become stronger. If I'm not strong enough, how can I protect you in the future? This is a world where strength is respected. If you don't want to be bullied by others, you have to become stronger than everyone else." Lu Yuan said seriously. "Yes." Chihiro Snow nodded gently. She was not an ordinary girl. Compared to Lu Yuan staying by her side all day, she was more willing to let Lu Yuan have a bright future. This man was destined to roam the 9 heavens, and not be trapped in a mere 3 feet space by her side. Chihiro Snow had known this for a long time. "Cher, I'll come back to see you," Lu Yuan said. Chihiro Snow nodded and looked at Lu Yuan. Her eyes were filled with affection. "Cher, what's wrong?" Lu Yuan asked gently. "Stinky fellow, kiss me." Chihiro Snow pressed her lips against his. "All right," Lu Yuan said softly. After that, he lowered his head slightly. The study room was filled with the smell of food. "Master, where are we going?" Outside the Star Blue Hotel, Long Xiaoyaro looked at Lu Yuan. "The Great Star Do Forest," Lu Yuan said. "Yes, Master. As for Elder Wild Rhinoceros, you can stay behind to protect Cher. Elder Long can protect me." "Yes, young Master Yuan." The wild rhinoceros Douluo's voice rang out. Chapter 205. Lu Yuan left with Long Xiaoyaro for the Great Star Do Forest. There were 2 reasons why he left the frenzy rhino Douluo behind. The first reason was that Long Xiaoyao's protection was enough. Chihiro Snow was in Heaven Do Imperial City, and it was too dangerous for him. The stronger the protection, the better. The second reason was that Lu Yuan had a premonition that something closely related to him was going to happen in the Great Star Do Forest. Long Xiaoyaro was on his side, and he was 100% loyal to him. However, the frenzy rhino Douluo was Sendriu's subordinate. To be honest, Lu Yuan didn't trust him 100%. Therefore, it wasn't a bad thing to leave the frenzy rhino Douluo behind. From another perspective, the frenzy rhino Douluo would be able to see everything that he did with Sendriu by his side. Lu Yuan couldn't accept that. In the past, he didn't have anyone protecting him, and couldn't leave him. However, with Long Xiaoyaro around, there was no need for him to keep an eye on him. Wouldn't it be more comfortable to be alone and free? The Great Star Do Forest was between the 2 empires. It was the largest forest of soul beasts on the continent. There were many 100,000-year soul beasts, but most of them were hidden away. Most of the soul cultivators on the continent only knew about the Titan giant ape and the sky azure bull python, but Lu Yuan knew even more about them. For example, the 10 great savage beasts, and the silver dragon king, who was recuperating at the bottom of the lake of life. They were the true secrets of the Great Star Do Forest. Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyaro set off from Heaven Do Imperial City. With Long Xiaoyaro around, the 2 of them flew over. They arrived at the Great Star Do Forest in just 2 days. This was because Lu Yuan wasn't used to flying for long periods of time. Otherwise, they would have been even faster. Lu Yuan shook his dizzy head as he looked at the forest in front of him. Long Xiaoyao's speed was too quick, and he couldn't get used to it. He was still a little dizzy even after he landed on the ground. However, Lu Yuan's spiritual power was very strong, and he quickly recovered. "Is this the Great Star Do Forest?" Lu Yuan was a little shocked as he looked at the ancient trees that reached into the sky and the forest that stretched as far as the eye could see. This was his first time in the Great Douluo Forest, and it wasn't something that the martial Soul Palace's Soul Beast Forest could compare to. Indeed, only a forest like this could nurture an existence that was 100,000 years old or even higher. Elder Long, let's go in, Lu Yuan said. Yes, Master, Long Xiaoyaro replied. The two of them walked into the forest. Outside the forest, there were 10-year, 100-year, and 1,000-year soul beasts. However, these weren't Lu Yuan's target. His target was the hybrid region. The hybrid region was where most 10,000-year soul beasts lived. The Great Douluo Forest was generally split into the peripheral region, the hybrid region, and the core region. The soul beasts in the peripheral region were generally below 10,000 years, while the hybrid region was the home of 10,000-year soul beasts. As for the core region, it was where the 100,000-year soul beasts lived. The Titan giant ape and the sky azure bull python lived in the core region. In fact, they were more like gatekeepers at the border between the hybrid region and the core region. They didn't have the right to step into the core region, and only higher-ranked soul beasts could survive there. For example, Di Tian, the Bear Lord, the Myriad Demon King, and other savage beasts were the true rulers of the core region. Master, what kind of soul beast are you planning to hunt? Long Xiaoyaro asked as they walked. Lu Yuan muttered to himself for a moment before saying, my first soul ring adds strength, and my second soul ring adds defense. According to my original idea, my third soul ring is to increase my offensive strength. Increase your offensive strength. Long Xiaoyaro nodded and said, there's a type of soul beast in the Great Douluo Forest that's extremely suitable for you. Their offensive strength is definitely top-notch among soul beasts. Elder Long, you're talking about the dark golden terror-claw bear, right? Lu Yuan smiled and said. Yes, Master's guess is right. An adult dark golden terror-claw bear can even tear a giant dragon apart with its bare hands. The offensive strength of its claws can't be underestimated. Furthermore, the dark golden terror-claw bear's defensive strength is also very strong. It can give Master the perfect boost. Long Xiaoyaro said. Yes, Elder Long, you're right. The dark golden terror-claw bear is also my first target. Lu Yuan smiled and said. Oh, do you have other options, Master? I do have other options. For example, the gold mysterious white tiger and the earthen sword dragon are all within my expectations. However, the dark golden terror-claw bear is still the best choice. Lu Yuan said. A 10,000-year dark golden terror-claw bear can fight against an ordinary 100,000-year soul beast. Such soul beasts definitely live in the hybrid region. They might even go deeper. It's very dangerous there. Master, don't stray too far from me later in case anything happens. Long Xiaoyaro said. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded. He was very clear about his own abilities. He could fight a 10,000-year soul beast, but that was only limited to ordinary ones. Furthermore, he might not be able to win. It depended on the type of soul beast. If it was a 10,000-year dark golden terror-claw bear, it wouldn't take much effort to kill it. Therefore, Lu Yuan agreed with Long Xiaoyao's words. The two of them continued forward. The outer region was very big. It wasn't realistic to want to cross it in one go. Even with Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyao's speed, it would still take them a few days. 5 days later. Master, we should be entering the hybrid region from here. The Great Douluo Forest is indeed huge, Long Xiaoyaro said. Lu Yuan nodded. The Great Douluo Forest was about the same size as the Balak Kingdom. The outer region was the largest. The two of them were able to reach the hybrid region in 5 days because they were fast. Ordinary people would need more than 10 days just to cross the outer region. Of course, they encountered many soul beasts along the way. However, with Long Xiaoyaro around, these soul beasts were seeking their own deaths. Lu Yuan was able to eat the meat of many rare soul beasts along the way. It tasted really good. After entering the hybrid region, Lu Yuan's expression became a lot more serious. This was where 10,000-year soul beasts lived. 10,000-year soul beasts were very frightening. Even the weakest of them was comparable to a soul king. They weren't something that 1,000-year soul beasts could compare to. 10,000-year soul beasts possessed intelligence that wasn't much inferior to that of humans. This meant that not only did they possess tyrannical fighting strength, but they were also capable of strategizing. For example, soul beasts from the wolf clan were relatively good at using their brains. It was only at the 10,000-year level that all soul beasts underwent their first major metamorphosis. This metamorphosis manifested itself in all aspects. Of the same species, a 10,000-year soul beast and a 9,000-year soul beast were worlds apart. They were no longer on the same level. Chapter 206. Of course, this only applied to the same species. Different species were different. For example, a 1,000-year dark golden terraclaw bear had no problem killing a 10,000-year mandala snake. This involved another aspect, the difference in the ranks of soul beasts. Generally speaking, 10,000-year soul beasts had to undergo their first metamorphosis. As for their second metamorphosis, they had to be at least a 100,000-year soul beast. However, a 100,000-year soul beast was still far away from Lu Yuan, so he didn't mention it. After entering the hybrid region, they saw fewer soul beasts. It wasn't like before, where they could see a soul beast every few steps. 10,000-year soul beasts had their own territories. Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyaro met two 10,000-year soul beasts as they walked. However, they didn't disturb them, because they didn't meet Lu Yuan's requirements. Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyaro didn't disturb them, and they didn't attack them either. Soul beasts were very territorial, but they were also very sensitive. This was especially so for 10,000-year soul beasts. Their ability to sense danger was much stronger than soul masters of the same rank. They could clearly sense the immense threat coming from Long Xiaoyaro, and knew that he wasn't someone to be trifled with. Otherwise, there was only one outcome: death. Under such circumstances, Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyaro didn't show any malicious intent. Naturally, they wouldn't attack them. They weren't stupid. Their intelligence wasn't much lower than that of a normal human's. Another half a day passed, but they still didn't find a suitable soul beast. Lu Yuan sat on a rock and rested for a while. After walking for an entire morning, he was a little tired. "Master, let's rest and eat something before we continue our search," Long Xiaoyaro said. "Okay." Lu Yuan nodded and asked, "Elder Long, which soul beast's territory do we belong to?" "I'm not sure. We just passed by a 30,000-year man-faced demon spider's territory. However, I killed it with a single palm strike. We should be out of its territory now, but I'm not sure whose territory it belongs to," Long Xiaoyaro said. After hearing this, Lu Yuan nodded slightly. Just now, when he and Long Xiaoyaro passed by the territory of a 30,000-year-old man-faced demonic spider, that man-faced demonic spider actually dared to attack them. Should I say that it's no wonder it's an evil killer recorded in the original novel? Starting a fight at the slightest disagreement. How blind. The 30,000-year man-faced demon spider was actually very strong. Its venom was comparable to that of a soul sage. However, Long Xiaoyaro could crush it with a single slap. However, whether or not this man-faced demon spider was the same man-faced demon spider that had caused Xiao Wu's death in the original story, Lu Yuan wasn't sure. However, the possibility was very high, as it was very rare for a soul beast like the man-faced demon spider to live for more than 30,000 years. However, if it really was that one, then Lu Yuan had unintentionally ruined one of Tang San's opportunities. After all, in the original work, Tang San had absorbed another external soul bone dropped by this man-faced demon spider. Therefore, his external soul bone, the 8 spider spear, had mutated and connected with several other soul bones, producing the prototype of a soul bone armor. However, this man-faced demon spider had turned into a pile of mud now, and Tang San wasn't fated to obtain it. As the chances of the man-faced demon spider dropping an external soul bone were very high, Lu Yuan went to look for it. However, perhaps because Long Xiaoyaro had killed it with a single slap, Lu Yuan didn't find any external soul bones. However, he didn't mind. If he had it, he would be lucky. If he didn't, he would be doomed. Furthermore, the 8 spider spear was a little ugly, and it didn't match his aura. He preferred handsome things. For example, His golden dragon armor was very handsome. Therefore, it was fine if he didn't find it. It was just a spur of the moment. Lu Yuan sat down and rested for a while. He took out a piece of dry rations and prepared to fill his stomach. After running around in the forest for such a long time, he was a little hungry. Master. Long Xiaoyaro shook his hand, and a green beehive appeared in his hand. A strange aroma immediately spread. Is this the honey of the 1,000-year green jade bees? Lu Yuan recognized it immediately. Wasn't this the beehive of the 1,000-year green jade bees that Long Xiaoyaro had discovered on the way here? He remembered that he had killed many green jade bees back then. This 1,000-year green jade honey was a decent natural treasure. It was very beneficial for cultivation. Furthermore, it tasted very good, and its fragrance could spread very far. When Long Xiaoyaro collected it, he saw it with his own eyes. However, he had been too focused on finding soul beasts these days. Furthermore, he had been eating different types of roasted soul beast meat for every meal. He had forgotten about it. Now that Long Xiaoyaro had taken it out, he finally remembered. Wasn't it better to drink it than to eat dry rations alone? As for why he didn't eat roasted soul beast meat for this meal, Lu Yuan only wanted to answer this question if the man-faced demon spider could be eaten. However, the man-faced demon spider couldn't be eaten. Therefore, he could only eat dry rations. Yes. Long Xiaoyaro nodded and said, Master, you can try this. This green jade honey tastes pretty good. Okay. Lu Yuan nodded and dug a small hole in the beehive. He took out 2 jade bowls from his star ring and poured the clear, jade-green honey into the jade bowls. A refreshing fragrance wafted into his nose. Don't ask me why the honey is jade-green. It's because this is the Douluo continent. It's that simple. Lu Yuan passed one of the jade bowls to Long Xiaoyaro and said, Elder Long, you should drink some too. Yes, Master. Long Xiaoyaro didn't stand on ceremony as he received the jade bowl. Although he was an ultimate Douluo, he was still human. He still had to eat. Lu Yuan lifted the jade bowl and took a sip. It was very sweet. There was a rich, but not pungent fragrance. Once it entered his mouth, it spread throughout his entire mouth. It had a pure, natural flavor. The honey from the green jade bees was very different from the honey he had eaten before. They were all sweet. However, the sweetness of the green jade honey was just right. It was sweet but not greasy. Even though he didn't like to eat sweets, he had to admit that this green jade honey was indeed exquisite. As he looked at the remaining honey, Lu Yuan felt that he could keep it and store it in his star ring. He believed that Cher and his senior sister would like to eat sweets like this. As for Zhu Zhuqing, she loved to eat fish. Lu Yuan had a deep impression of this. After all, she had a cat martial soul. Whether it was the Netherworld civet before it evolved or the 9 lives lynx after it evolved, a cat's love for fish would never change. Lu Yuan was just about to keep the green jade beehive when there was a commotion in the distance. Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyaro looked in the direction of the commotion at the same time. A 5-meter-tall bear with dark golden fur appeared in front of them. It was very muscular, and its sharp claws flickered with a dazzling cold light. It nodded its huge head slightly, as if it was sniffing something. Chapter 207. Dark Golden Terror Claw Bear. Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyaro recognized this soul beast at the same time. Wasn't this the dark golden terror claw bear that stood at the top of the pyramid of soul beasts, and was comparable to the Titan giant ape? Its long and sharp claws were the dark golden terror claw bear's strongest attack. They were also known as the dark golden terror claw bear, and were so strong that they could tear a dragon apart. It's 5 meters tall, and its claws are 1.5 feet long. This dark golden terror claw bear should be around 15,000 years old. Elder Long, it suits me. As Lu Yuan spoke, he looked at the dark golden terror claw bear not far away. He didn't expect his luck to be so good that a 15,000-year dark golden terror claw bear would come to him on its own accord. Yes, Master, please wait for a moment. Let me capture it, Long Xiaoyaro said as he looked at the dark golden terror claw bear. Just as Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyaro discovered the dark golden terror claw bear, The dark golden terraclaw bear also discovered the two of them. However, this dark golden terraclaw bear didn't leave after discovering Long Xiaoyaro. Instead, it roared into the sky and stared at the green jade beehive in Lu Yuan's hands with its yellow eyes. Hey! Lu Yuan's attention was attracted by the dark golden terraclaw bear's gaze. He followed its gaze and was enlightened. So that's how it is. I was careless, Lu Yuan said softly. He recalled some records about the dark golden terraclaw bear. The dark golden terraclaw bear loved honey the most, especially honey produced by high-tier soul beasts. That was the favorite of the dark golden terraclaw bear. Dark golden terraclaw bears loved to rummage through the beehives of B-type soul beasts and steal their honey. Sometimes, they would be stung by B-type soul beasts, but they wouldn't change their minds. They would return to their old habits. It wasn't hard to imagine how much they loved honey. The honey produced by the green jade bees was a special type of honey produced by B-type soul beasts. Its fragrance didn't dissipate for a long time. It wasn't hard to imagine how attractive this honey was to the dark golden terraclaw bear. If Lu Yuan had recalled this record earlier and used the green jade honey to attract the dark golden terraclaw bear, he would probably have found a suitable soul ring for himself. Of course, it was not too late. The dark golden terraclaw bear's eyes were still fixed on the green jade beehive in Lu Yuan's hands. Its large yellow eyes were filled with desire, and it would occasionally roar at Lu Yuan and Hua Yuhao. Black lines appeared on Lu Yuan's forehead as he looked at the dark golden terraclaw bear. This dark golden terraclaw bear was famous for being simple-minded in the world of soul beasts. It was even more simple-minded than the Titan giant ape. Ordinary 10,000-year soul beasts all retreated when they felt Long Xiaoyao's terrifying aura. However, this iron fool actually took the initiative to provoke him. 10,000-year soul beasts weren't weak, and 10,000-year dark golden terraclaw bears were the same. However, while they weren't weak, their personalities were rather rigid, and they were a little similar to Brother Flattop. Bro Flattop didn't care about life and death. He would fight if he wasn't convinced. The dark golden terraclaw bear was the same. No matter how strong you are, I'll fight you first. If I can't beat you, I'll think about other things. In any case, I won't be convinced no matter how strong you are before I make a move. Back then, the Bear Lord was extremely daring. He actually challenged Di Tian, and even used his dark golden terraclaw to injure Di Tian. In the end, Di Tian used his dragon god's claw to beat him up, and he only felt pain after being beaten up. This dark golden terraclaw bear was the same. It could clearly sense that Long Xiaoyao's aura was far superior to his, but it still dared to roar at him. In some ways, it was even more daring than the Bear Lord in the past. The Bear Lord had more than 400,000 years of cultivation, and he was challenging Di Tian, who had more than 800,000 years of cultivation. Even though there was a difference of more than 400,000 years of cultivation between them, they were still at least 100,000 years of cultivation. This dark golden terraclaw bear only had 15,000 years of cultivation, but it dared to make a scene at Long Xiaoyao, who was a true ultimate Douluo. It had to be said that it was tired of living. Seeing that the dark golden terraclaw bear was provoking him, Long Xiaoyao said softly, "Master, let me teach this beast a lesson." "Okay." Lu Yuan nodded. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Long Xiaoyao's figure flashed, and he slapped the dark golden terraclaw bear. The dark golden terraclaw bear roared into the sky, and its huge claws met Long Xiaoyao's attack. Roar! The dark golden terraclaw bear cried out in pain, and Long Xiaoyao slapped it into the ground. After that, he grabbed the dark golden terraclaw bear's short tail and slammed it into the ground. Even though they were very far away, Lu Yuan could feel the ground shaking. "Oh my god, that's too brutal." Lu Yuan clicked his tongue in admiration as he watched Long Xiaoyao slam the dark golden terraclaw bear into the ground. However, he was thinking about whether he should do the same when he fought in the future. The way he slammed the dark golden terraclaw bear into the ground seemed very forceful, and it should be more compatible with his golden dragon bloodline. "Okay, let's do that." Lu Yuan nodded. He had to change his fighting style in the future. He had to be more violent. He had been too elegant in the past, and he couldn't be too elegant. He had to be violent in his elegance. That was the best description of the golden dragon. After slamming the dark golden terraclaw bear into the ground for about 15 minutes, Long Xiaoyaro dragged the dark golden terraclaw bear towards Lu Yuan. It had to be said that the dark golden terraclaw bear was indeed a transcendent soul beast. Its strength, defense, and offense were all top tier. Its vitality was also very strong. After being slammed by Long Xiaoyaro for so long, it was still alive. It was impressive. However, the dark golden terraclaw bear looked very pitiful. Its dark golden fur was covered in dust, and its flesh was badly mangled. Fresh blood had seeped through its entire body. It was indeed struggling for its life. A 15,000-year dark golden terraclaw bear wasn't weak. At the very least, the frenzied rhino Douluo might not have been able to defeat it. However, Long Xiaoyaro was a rank 99 ultimate Douluo, and he didn't even have to release his martial soul to defeat it. The difference between an ultimate Douluo and an ordinary titled Douluo was like heaven and earth. Master. Long Xiaoyaro threw the dark golden terraclaw bear beside Lu Yuan's feet and said, "You can give it the final blow." "Yes." Lu Yuan nodded. A golden spear appeared in his hand as a radiance flashed. Lu Yuan's world-shaking spear had been reforged. It was made of the highest quality metal, and was forged by the best blacksmiths in the Martial Soul Palace. It was much better than the original world-shaking spear. It was also very heavy. It weighed more than 400 kilograms. It was just right for Lu Yuan to use. As for its name, it was still called the world-shaking spear. Lu Yuan couldn't be bothered to give it a new name. As he looked at the dark golden terraclaw bear's resentful eyes, Lu Yuan sighed softly. He thrust his spear forward and ended its life. This was the law of this world. The strong preyed on the weak. As long as soul rings existed, soul masters and soul beasts would never be able to coexist peacefully. Such killings were inevitable. Chapter 208. He withdrew his spear from the dark golden terraclaw bear's throat. After receiving Lu Yuan's final blow, the dark golden terraclaw bear's yellow eyes dimmed completely. A pitch-black soul ring appeared above the dark golden terraclaw bear's body. "Master, don't worry and absorb it. I'll protect you," Long Xiaoyaro said. "Okay." Lu Yuan nodded. Even though they were in the hybrid region, he wouldn't be in any danger with the Dragon Emperor Douluo protecting him. Lu Yuan crossed his legs and sat down. His golden dragon was instantly attached to his body, and a loud dragon roar sounded. The golden dragon's aura instantly spread. Stardow Forest, deep in the Lake of Life. Just as the golden dragon's roar sounded, a silver-white figure suddenly opened his eyes in a strange space deep in the Lake of Life. Familiar bloodline undulations. "Is it him?" Di Tian. The silver-white figure's voice sounded. "Master." A black figure appeared and knelt on one knee. This was a middle-aged man with a dignified look. His eyes were golden, and he exuded an indescribable aura. There were strands of golden hair in his long black hair. He was the leader of the 10 great savage beasts, the Golden Eyes Black Dragon King, the beast god, Di Tian. Since Di Tian had appeared and addressed him as master, this silver-white figure's identity was obvious. "That kid from back then is here. Go and bring him back. I want to see him," the silver-white figure said. "Yes, master." Di Tian nodded slightly. He recalled the scene from back then, and his heart trembled slightly. After Di Tian finished speaking, his figure disappeared once again. Only this silver-white figure was left in this strange space. His eyes opened slightly. They were a pair of bright purple eyes. He opened his right hand slightly, and the vast sea cosmic barrier flew out from between his eyebrows. It landed in Lu Yuan's hand and spun. Lu Yuan injected some soul power into it, and the vast sea cosmic barrier immediately shone with blue light. It flew into the air and stood above Lu Yuan's head. A triangular light barrier immediately enveloped both Lu Yuan and Long Xiaoyao. It was none other than the vast ocean protective cover that could conceal one's aura. Even though Long Xiaoyao, an ultimate Douluo, was protecting him, it was clearly safer this way. Lu Yuan wouldn't allow any accidents to happen while he was absorbing the soul rings. If anything went wrong, his soul power would go berserk, and that would be extremely dangerous. Master's vast sea cosmic shroud is just as stunning no matter how many times I look at it, Long Xiaoyaro exclaimed. The vast sea cosmic shroud gave him the feeling of a vast ocean. It was deep and distant, and even his soul power as an ultimate Douluo wasn't enough in front of it. Long Xiaoyaro suspected that the vast sea cosmic shroud wasn't an ordinary item. It was likely to be a godly item. Only a god's godly item could have the power to shock an ultimate Douluo. After hearing Long Xiaoyao's words, Lu Yuan smiled. The vast sea cosmic shroud was the core item of the sea god's trident. It was called the sea god's heart, and the sea god's trident was a genuine supragodly item. It wasn't an ordinary item. The sea god's heart was its core item, and contained an extremely vast and pure power of the ocean. It was a rare treasure. Lu Yuan waved at the dark golden terraclaw bear's soul ring, and the soul ring flew to the top of his head. Instantly, a strong and domineering force entered Lu Yuan's body through his Baihui acupoint. The dark golden terraclaw bear was one of the most powerful soul beasts. Its strength was violent and ferocious, and it was also very aggressive. Other soul masters, even soul emperors, might not be able to absorb the soul ring of this 15,000-year dark golden terraclaw bear. However, this wasn't a problem for Lu Yuan. The dark golden terraclaw bear was indeed violent, but the golden dragon was even more violent and ferocious. As the golden dragon that possessed the purest golden dragon king bloodline, they were the strongest soul beasts when it came to violence. Even the dark golden terraclaw bear had to bow its head before them. Not only did Lu Yuan possess the golden dragon martial soul, but he also possessed the purest second-generation golden dragon bloodline. How could a mere dark golden terraclaw bear do anything to him? Needless to say, Lu Yuan's Clear Air Sutra also contained the Clear Air Divine Seed's Clear Air Divine Power, as well as the power of the ocean from the vast sea cosmic shroud, which was also the sea god's heart. The quality of his soul power was the highest on the continent. Refining the dark golden terraclaw bear's strength was a piece of cake. As Lu Yuan sensed the strength of the dark golden terraclaw bear's soul ring, he secretly circulated the power of the golden dragon's bloodline to suppress this strength. At the same time, he used the Clear Air Sutra to slowly refine it. Just as Lu Yuan was refining the soul ring, a black figure appeared less than 5 kilometers away from where Lu Yuan was. It was the leader of the 10 great savage beasts, the beast god, Di Tian. That's strange. Why did the bloodline aura suddenly disappear? Di Tian's golden eyes were filled with doubt. He could clearly feel the pure golden dragon's aura just now. Why did it suddenly disappear? Di Tian was puzzled. He found a direction and quickly disappeared. Just now, his bloodline aura had disappeared because Lu Yuan had activated the vast sea cosmos shroud. With the vast sea cosmos shroud around, Di Tian wouldn't have been able to detect Lu Yuan's aura no matter how profound his cultivation was. This was the difference between a mortal and a god. Although Di Tian was known as the beast god, his abilities were far from that of a god. At most, he wasn't far from Long Xiaoyaro. He wasn't even a demigod. After all, Di Tian wasn't the same as he would be 10,000 years later. Of course, Long Xiaoyaro wasn't Di Tian's match if they really fought, because he had the dragon god's claw. Inside the vast sea protective barrier, Lu Yuan's body flashed with golden light. The Clear Air Sutra's soul power was quickly refining the dark golden terraclaw bear's soul power. Although the dark golden terraclaw bear's soul power was domineering and sharp, it was already being defeated by the golden dragon's aura and the Clear Air Sutra. As for the remnant resentment in the dark golden terraclaw bear's soul power, it was instantly neutralized by the Clear Air Sutra, which was used to deal with resentment and evil. There was still one last battle in his mind. The dark golden terraclaw bear roared into the sky. This was its spirit fragment, which was also known as spiritual shock. This was also the most difficult part of absorbing a 10,000-year soul ring. However, this didn't seem to be the case for Lu Yuan. When the dark golden terraclaw bear's spirit fragment appeared and roared, a bright white light locked it in place. Boundless Clear Air Sutra's divine power surged towards the dark golden Terraclaw bear's spirit fragment like floodwaters. The dark golden Terraclaw bear's body froze. Under the Clear Air Sutra's divine power, its spirit fragment couldn't resist at all. It was instantly locked in place, and couldn't move at all. At this moment, the golden dragon martial soul in Lu Yuan's mind let out a resonant dragon roar. It flapped its huge dragon wings and opened its bloody mouth, swallowing the dark golden Terraclaw bear's soul fragment into its stomach. Lu Yuan's tightly shut eyes opened almost instantly. His double pupils flashed with a bright light. Chapter 209. Master. Seeing that Lu Yuan had opened his eyes, Long Xiaoyao immediately came forward and asked, "Are you done absorbing it?" "Yes." Lu Yuan nodded and said, "This dark golden Terraclaw bear is indeed one of the most powerful soul beasts in terms of offensive strength. It's indeed extraordinary. It gave me a very good soul skill. My third soul skill is called the heaven-ripping golden dragon claw. It's extremely powerful. Even defense-type soul masters who aren't soul kings won't be able to block it. Even for soul kings, unless they're purely defense-type soul masters, they'll still have their stomachs ripped open if they're caught. It's just that they'll have to expend more soul power to do so. The stronger the soul skill, the more soul power it consumes. This is very normal. Master's soul skill is already very good. Is there a limit to the number of times it can be used?" Long Xiaoyao asked. "There isn't. As long as I have enough soul power, I can use it continuously. With my current soul power, I can only use the heaven-ripping golden dragon claw 4 times before my soul power is completely depleted," Lu Yuan said plainly. Lu Yuan cultivated the clear aura scripture. His soul power was much stronger than other soul masters of the same rank. If he could use it 4 times before his soul power would be completely depleted, one could only imagine how much soul power this skill consumed. Should I say that it's indeed a 10,000-year soul skill? However, taking into account the clear aura scripture's superb recovery, this skill should be able to be used casually unless he used it 4 times in a row. Furthermore, this dark golden Terraclaw bear truly deserves its reputation as a transcendent soul beast in terms of strength, defense, and offense. After absorbing its soul ring, my physique has become much stronger. Furthermore, my soul power has reached rank 33. This is a pleasant surprise. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. He was very satisfied with this soul ring. At rank 33, he had an additional 10,000-year soul ring and such a powerful 10,000-year soul skill. His fighting strength was no longer comparable to that of a low-level soul king. Instead, he could fight against a soul king. 2 external soul bones, a 15,000-year soul ring from the dark golden Terraclaw bear, and the clear aura scripture. These things were enough for Lu Yuan to fight against those of a higher rank. Even if he didn't use his polychoria, his fighting strength was comparable to that of a normal soul king. If he used his polychoria, he might even be able to win. The soul kings mentioned here were the best combination of soul kings, not ordinary soul kings. If he could comprehend the halberd arts of the sea god's 13 halberds in the future, then Lu Yuan's battle prowess would rise again. The current Lu Yuan could be said to have caught up with Chihiro Snow. Of course, this referred to his combat power. However, thinking about how Chihiro Snow might have already obtained his 5th soul ring, Lu Yuan's combat strength should still be slightly inferior to Chihiro Snow's if he didn't use his trump card. "Oh, that's not bad." Long Xiaoyao laughed. "I don't know if the dark golden Terraclaw bear has a soul bone. I remember that the dark golden Terraclaw bear is similar to the man-faced demon spider. It has a high chance of dropping a soul bone," Long Xiaoyao said. "How can I be so lucky?" Lu Yuan smiled. He was already extremely lucky to have obtained an external soul bone from each of the first 2 soul rings he killed. How could there be another soul bone? He wasn't the son of destiny. "Hehe, what if there really is one?" Long Xiaoyao chortled and said. "Heh, then you can look for it." Lu Yuan waved his hand, and the vast sea cosmic shroud flew into his hand. After that, he kept it between his eyebrows. Long Xiaoyao really went to look for a soul bone from the dark golden Terraclaw bear's corpse. Long Xiaoyaro chopped off the dark golden terraclaw bear's paws, and Lu Yuan kept them. The dark golden terraclaw bear's paws were extremely delicious, and couldn't be miss. It's a pity that there aren't any palm bones. Long Xiaoyaro shook his head. The dark golden terraclaw bear's most powerful soul bone was its palm bones, which were its claws. It was a pity that it didn't drop this one. It's normal that you don't have one. Lu Yuan didn't mind. While the chances of a 10,000-year soul beast dropping a soul bone were higher than that of a 1,000-year soul beast, it wasn't guaranteed that there would be one. After all, the dark golden terraclaw bear wasn't a 100,000-year soul beast. I just find it a pity. Long Xiaoyaro sighed slightly. Suddenly, his eyes brightened. There seemed to be a dark golden luster at the joint of the dark golden terraclaw bear's severed arms. Long Xiaoyaro exclaimed. He seemed to have discovered something. He took a step forward and gently swiped his right hand in the air. Don't tell me there really is one. Lu Yuan was also astonished as he watched Long Xiaoyao's actions. Long Xiaoyaro sucked with his palm, and a bone-like item flew towards him. His soul power trembled in his hand, and a dark golden bone appeared in his hand. He took a look at it before passing it to Lu Yuan. Is this a right arm bone? Lu Yuan sized up the dark golden terraclaw bear's right arm bone in his hand. It was rather complete, and could be considered quite precious. While it was only 15,000 years old, it came from a transcendent soul beast, the dark golden terraclaw bear. While it wasn't as valuable as a 100,000-year soul bone, it wasn't inferior to any soul bone from a 100,000-year soul beast. It could definitely be considered a treasure. Master, why don't you absorb it? While this soul bone is rather young, it's rather complete. It's not bad, Long Xiaoyaro said. Lu Yuan shook his head gently and said, forget it, keep it. I won't let my soul bones go to waste. Besides the external soul bones, my other soul bones have to be at least 100,000 years old. This soul bone's rank is still a little low, but I can keep it. I can give it to someone in the future. As Lu Yuan spoke, he kept it in his astral ring. This dark golden terraclaw bear's right arm bone was rather precious. It would be a good item to use to win people over in the future. At this moment, a black figure flashed 2.5 kilometers away. I've finally found your aura again. The black figure flashed past and instantly broke through the restraints of space. It headed in Lu Yuan's direction. Master, are we going back now? Long Xiaoyaro asked. After hearing this, Lu Yuan fell into deep thought. He hadn't heard the system's sign-in notification until now. However, he had already circled the Great Star Do Forest a few times, and had even entered the hybrid region. However, the system still hadn't responded. Do I have to enter the core region before I can sign in? Lu Yuan guessed in his heart. As for going back, he definitely couldn't go back now. He still had to complete the system's mission. After all, the rewards were very generous. As he looked at Long Xiaoyaro, Lu Yuan was about to speak. Suddenly, a huge hole appeared in space, and a huge black dragon claw reached out. Before Long Xiaoyaro could even react, the dragon claw grabbed Lu Yuan. After that, it quickly withdrew into space and disappeared. When he saw this, Long Xiaoyaro was shocked. After that, he was enraged. Who are you? Let go of my master. Long Xiaoyaro roared into the sky and chased after Lu Yuan. Chapter 210. Lu Yuan looked at the huge black dragon claw that was grabbing onto him, and his heart trembled. There was only one person in the entire Great Star Do Forest who could do this, the leader of the 10 great savage beasts, the golden-eyed black dragon king, Di Tian. But why is Di Tian grabbing me? Lu Yuan was puzzled. It would be a lie if Lu Yuan said that he did not have a trace of fear in his heart when he was targeted by a powerful expert like Di Tian. However, Lu Yuan's state of mind was calm. Since he was already in the palm of Di Tian's hand, even if he was afraid, it would be useless. With Di Tian's abilities, even Long Xiaoyaro might not be able to save him. At this moment, Di Tian was still in human form, but one of his claws was a dragon's claw. Lu Yuan was caught in the palm of his hand by this claw. What is this? Is this partial transformation? Even Lu Yuan couldn't understand Di Tian's current state. Is this an ability unique to savage beasts? The black dragon claw gradually became smaller, and Lu Yuan returned to his human form. However, Lu Yuan was being held by Di Tian by his clothes. Di Tian picked up speed as he carried Lu Yuan. He was heading towards the core of the great Star Do forest. Just as Di Tian disappeared from where he was, Long Xiaoyao appeared where Di Tian had been. This is my master's aura. Long Xiaoyao sensed the remnant aura of the golden dragon's bloodline in the air, and a sharp look flashed across his eyes. He followed this aura towards the core of the great Star Do forest. You don't seem afraid. As they moved forward, Di Tian looked at Lu Yuan, who still had a calm expression on his face. There was a hint of curiosity in his eyes. Was this child not afraid at all? Is there any use in being afraid? Lu Yuan asked. There's no use. Di Tian replied. Do you know who I am? Di Tian asked. I know a little. Lu Yuan said calmly. Oh. Di Tian was a little surprised. He hadn't appeared in the world for a long time. Logically speaking, the soul masters in the outside world shouldn't know about him. Other than the servants of some gods who might know a little about him, the other soul masters shouldn't know about his existence at all. And Lu Yuan actually said that he knew a little about it. Could it be that this child still had memories of his childhood? That shouldn't be the case. At that time, he had just been born. He hadn't even opened his eyes yet. It was impossible for him to know about him. Then who do you think I am? Di Tian asked curiously. Lu Yuan looked at Di Tian with a puzzled expression. He didn't know why, but he felt that Di Tian didn't seem to have any enmity towards him. Furthermore, it was as if he had seen him before. What was going on? Why aren't you saying anything? I'm guessing that you don't know who I am either, Di Tian said indifferently. There was actually a hint of a smile on his face. Lu Yuan was just about to speak when Di Tian's expression suddenly changed. Someone is chasing after us. Furthermore, he's not weak. As he spoke, Di Tian increased his speed again. The person chasing after them gave him a rather strong sense of pressure. He had to send Lu Yuan to the core area first. Otherwise, he might not be able to defeat the person chasing after them while he was carrying Lu Yuan. It's Elder Long, Lu Yuan said. You know him? Di Tian increased his speed, but he didn't forget to ask questions. Yes, he's my subordinate, Lu Yuan said. You captured me. That's why he's chasing after us. Speaking of which, why did you capture me? Lu Yuan's eyes were filled with confusion. Don't worry. I don't have any ill intentions towards you. It's just that someone wants to see you, Di Tian said, but he didn't slow down at all. An ultimate Douluo was very fast, especially when Di Tian was flying at full speed. In just a few minutes, Lu Yuan had already left the hybrid region and entered the core area. As for why Lu Yuan knew that he had already entered the core area, it was because Lu Yuan had already seen the boundless, jade-green lake below. It was the Lake of Life. At this moment, the system's voice finally sounded. Sign-in begins. Sign-in time is half an hour. Countdown begins. Indeed, do I have to enter the core area to sign in? Lu Yuan muttered to himself. Roar. Di Tian was approaching when a beast's roar suddenly sounded. A huge ape was beating its chest and roaring into the sky. Following this, a huge bull's head popped out from the Lake of Life. It was staring in Di Tian's direction. Di Tian's figure flashed, and he came to the lakeside. His aura surged, and the aura of the 800,000-year Golden Eyes Black Dragon King surged out. Instantly, it pressed down on the two soul beasts. Guard your door well. Don't bother about anything else, Di Tian said. His voice carried a sense of authority that couldn't be defied. Yes, Lord Di Tian. The huge bull's head looked at Di Tian's figure and lowered its head slightly. Di Tian nodded slightly and said, Someone will come later. You two stop him. I'll make a move first. Yes. The bull's head nodded again. With that, Di Tian grabbed Lu Yuan and disappeared once again. As it watched Di Tian's figure disappear, The bull's head looked at Lu Yuan in Di Tian's hand. There was a trace of doubt in its eyes. No one knew what it was thinking. At this moment, Long Xiaoyao's figure appeared. The bull's eyes sharpened. It opened its huge mouth, and a pillar of water shot towards Long Xiaoyao. Beside it, the huge ape also punched towards Long Xiaoyao. Long Xiaoyao's eyes blazed with fury when he saw this scene. He was already furious because Lu Yuan had been captured. This time, his fury was completely unleashed. Sky Azure Bull Python, Titan Giant Ape, you're courting death. Long Xiaoyao roared furiously. As his dragon roar rang out, a deep black light spread. It was a huge black dragon. Yellow, purple, purple, black, black, red, and red soul rings shone with beautiful colors. The Dragon Emperor Douluo, Long Xiaoyao, had the martial soul of the Darkness Holy Dragon. He was a rank 99 ultimate Douluo, and his soul rings were 2 yellow, 2 purple, 3 black, and 2 red. He had 200,000-year soul rings at the same time. Other than Bibidon, who had twin martial souls, no one else in the world could compare to him. Even Sendriu and Pasisi only had 100,000-year soul ring. Of course, that was only true for now. In the future, it was hard to say. At the very least, people like Lu Yuan and Chihiro Snow would have more than 100,000-year soul ring. Long Xiaoyao was furious. He attacked the 200,000-year soul beasts. He didn't intend to hold back. The battle was about to begin. Di Tian brought Lu Yuan forward for another distance. The life energy here had already reached a certain level. Just by taking 2 light breaths, one could feel that it was full of life energy. Di Tian's figure slowly descended, and Lu Yuan finally stepped onto land. This feeling of being on solid ground was very comfortable. As he felt the rich life energy coming from all directions, Lu Yuan couldn't help but take a few deep breaths. He immediately felt refreshed. Chapter 211. What do you think? Di Tian asked as he looked at the intoxicated Lu Yuan. It's indeed a good place to cultivate. Lu Yuan was right. The life energy around the Lake of Life was very dense, and was very beneficial for cultivation. If he cultivated here, Lu Yuan's speed would at least double. Of course. The Lake of Life is a treasure of the Soul Beast clan, Di Tian said. The Lake of Life contained the densest life energy in the entire Great Stardow Forest. There was even life gold at the bottom of the lake, and the dense life energy could increase a soul beast's cultivation speed. At the same time, it was very beneficial for the recovery of injuries. Of course, it was also very useful for soul beasts that were more than 100,000 years old. It was also because of this that only soul beasts that were more than 100,000 years old had the right to live around the Lake of Life. The world of soul beasts followed the law of the jungle. The law of the jungle was the only rule in the world of soul beasts. Strictly speaking, the Lake of Life wasn't circular. On the contrary, it was a semicircle with some bumps. The Sky Azure Bull Python and the Titan Giant Ape were only at the edge of the semicircle, and the life energy there was the thinnest. The most dented part of the semicircle was the closest to the center, where the life gold was. The life energy there was the densest, and all savage beasts that were more than 100,000 years old lived there. As the beast god, Di Tian was undoubtedly the #1 savage beast. The place where he lived was naturally the best, and where the life energy was the densest. Di Tian was usually the only one who lived here. However, when Lu Yuan came today, there was a green-haired lady here. For her to be able to stay in a place like this, there was no doubt that this woman was also a soul beast. Furthermore, she should be very close to Di Tian. Lu Yuan couldn't help but make some guesses when he felt the life aura coming from this woman. Why are you still talking to me here? Aren't you going to take a look at those 2 soul beasts? I think they won't be far from death if we delay them for another 2 minutes. Lu Yuan smiled as he looked at Di Tian. The Sky Azure Bull Python and Titan Giant Ape were indeed very powerful, and almost all of them were capable of battling Hyper Douluos at or above rank 95. The Sky Azure Bull Python was comparable to a rank 96 Hyper Douluo, and it could even contend with a rank 97 Hyper Douluo. However, Their opponent was Long Xiaoyaro, a rank 99 ultimate Douluo. Even if the two soul beasts teamed up, they would be killed by Long Xiaoyaro in less than 10 minutes. This wasn't a joke. This was how strong an ultimate Douluo was. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called a limit. The so-called limit was the highest level that could be reached below the gods. As for demigods, they no longer belonged to the category of humans. Instead, they had 1 foot in the realm of gods. There was only one true demigod on the Douluo continent right now, and that was the deep-sea demon whale king, a million-year soul beast. Even Di Tian could only barely reach this level with his dragon god's claw. If he really fought with the deep-sea demonic whale king, the outcome might not be certain. The possibility of Di Tian losing was very high. After all, the current Di Tian was not the same as 10,000 years later. Whether it was in terms of realm or cultivation, he was still a bit lacking. You're still worried about the life and death of soul beasts? Di Tian looked at Lu Yuan with a strange look in his eyes. I'm not worried about their life and death. I'm just worried that if they die at the hands of my people, you'll kill me with a slap, Lu Yuan said. After all, they're both 100,000-year soul beasts. Their status among soul beasts shouldn't be low, right? After hearing Lu Yuan's words, the green-haired lady burst into laughter. She looked at Lu Yuan with a curious look in her eyes. You're honest. There was a hint of a smile on Di Tian's face. This child really wasn't like those cunning humans. He spoke honestly and didn't hide his thoughts at all. However, you're wrong. Even if they die, I won't do anything to you. You're much more important than them. Di Tian smiled and said, however, you're right. 200,000-year soul beasts are a rare fighting force. It's a pity if they die. I'll make a trip there first. Furthermore, I'd like to see how strong that human is. Di Tian had been invincible for too long. There wasn't a single soul beast in the great Douluo forest that could threaten him. Even the Bear Lord could only injure him with his sky-tearing claw. If they really fought, the Bear Lord was far from his match. However, Long Xiaoyaro was different. He was a true ultimate Douluo, and could pose a huge threat to Di Tian. Then be careful. Elder Long is very strong. Don't lose in the end. Lu Yuan smiled. After interacting with Di Tian for such a short period of time, he was no longer afraid of him. This was because Di Tian didn't have any intention of hurting him. Lu Yuan's spiritual sense was extraordinary, and he could still sense this. Perhaps it was because both of them had pure dragon bloodlines, but Lu Yuan didn't reject Di Tian's aura at all. Instead, he felt a sense of closeness. Perhaps Di Tian was the only soul beast in the Douluo continent that had pure dragon bloodlines apart from him and the Silver Dragon King. I've never lost before. Di Tian's words were filled with dominance. He had dominated the great Douluo forest for so many years, but he had never met a worthy opponent. By Ji, look after this fellow. I'll go and meet that human. As he spoke, he disappeared. Not long after, the sky not far away was engulfed in darkness. Dragon roars echoed throughout the entire core region. Di Tian, who is he fighting? In a cave, a huge dark golden bear opened its eyes. There's actually a soul beast that dares to challenge Di Tian? There was a look of astonishment in the bear's eyes. I'll go and take a look. As it spoke, its huge body rushed in the direction of the battle. This dark golden bear wasn't the only one that was alarmed by this commotion. TSK, the Darkness Holy Dragon is fighting the golden-eyed Black Dragon King. This battle is going to be interesting. As he looked at the dark sky in the distance, Lu Yuan knew that it was because both parties had used their domains. How could the sky not turn dark when two dark domains were used at the same time? You don't seem worried at all. Bai Ji's gentle voice rang out. Lu Yuan looked over when he heard her voice. Bai Ji's original form was a 500,000-year emerald swan. She was a healing-type soul beast, and was very kind. She was a very special existence among all the savage beasts. It was said that she was Di Tian's lover, and had a very high status among soul beast. After hearing Bai Ji's words, Lu Yuan said, "What are you worried about? Even if Elder Long can't defeat Di Tian, Di Tian won't be able to stop him if he wants to leave. Long Xiaoyao's strength was comparable to Di Tian's. As long as Di Tian didn't use his dragon god's claw, he wouldn't be able to take Long Xiaoyao down. Even if Di Tian used his dragon god's claw, Long Xiaoyao wouldn't have a problem retreating. Therefore, Lu Yuan wasn't worried at all. Chapter 212. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Bai Ji couldn't help but exclaim. From Lu Yuan's words, that human soul master seemed to be very strong. Even Di Tian couldn't stop him. But how was that possible? Others didn't understand Di Tian's strength, but she did. Di Tian was definitely one of the top fighters in the world. However, Lu Yuan said that he couldn't even take down a human soul master. Could it be that human soul masters were already so strong these days? Seeing Bai Ji's shocked expression, Lu Yuan naturally knew what she was thinking. However, he didn't explain, because he knew that this battle wouldn't last for long. Whether it was Di Tian or Long Xiaoyao, they weren't fools. As long as Long Xiaoyao knew that Di Tian didn't have any ill intentions towards him, the battle would naturally stop. Di Tian also wouldn't fight to the death with Long Xiaoyao. After all, Long Xiaoyao would definitely be enraged if he saw that he was captured. He definitely wouldn't stop, because he was 100% loyal to Di Tian. If Di Tian was forced into a corner, he might even take Long Xiaoyao down with him. Although Di Tian was stronger than Long Xiaoyao after using his dragon god's claw, Di Tian wouldn't be spared if Long Xiaoyao wanted to drag him down with him. With Di Tian's intelligence, he would naturally tell Long Xiaoyao that he was fine in such a situation. As long as Di Tian explained himself, the battle would naturally end. Lu Yuan's eyes darted around, and he started to ponder. Di Tian probably kidnapped him because of his bloodline. Furthermore, Di Tian said that someone wanted to see him, and that someone who could order Di Tian around, this person's identity was obvious. Lu Yuan looked into the depths of the Lake of Life. The person who wanted to see him should be at the bottom of the Lake of Life. Lu Yuan's polychoria flashed, and he seemed to see through the barrier of the lake water. He saw a silver-white figure. Another quarter of an hour had passed. The battle in the distance had stopped. Di Tian's figure appeared. His black clothes were a little messy, but he didn't seem to be injured. He was carrying two huge soul beasts in his hands. They were the sky azure bull python and the titan giant ape. However, they looked a little miserable. The titan giant ape's body was covered in wounds. There was a large hole in its abdomen that was still bleeding. There was a large bump on the sky azure bull python's head, and a small portion of its scales had fallen off. Blood was seeping out of the wound, and it seemed to have lost a small section of its body. TSK, Elder Long is really ruthless. If Di Tian had been any later, these two soul beasts would have been dead by now. The sky azure bull python's injuries were even more severe than the titan giant ape's, and it appeared that Elder Long had taken special care of it due to its power. Di Tian placed the two soul beasts down and said to Bai Ji, heal them. Bai Ji nodded as a jade-green light flashed and landed on the two soul beasts. While the two soul beasts were severely injured, Bai Ji was an emerald swan with more than 500,000 years of cultivation. She was the strongest healing-type soul beast, and it wasn't difficult for her to heal them. "Where's Elder Long?" Lu Yuan furrowed his brow and asked when he saw that Long Xiaoyao didn't follow Di Tian. "My lord, I'm here." Just as Lu Yuan finished speaking, Long Xiaoyao's figure appeared. He was dragging a huge dark golden terraclaw bear in his hands. His body was covered in wounds, and it seemed like he had been beaten up quite badly. "Elder Long, what's this?" Lu Yuan couldn't help but ask. "My lord, I had just finished fighting with this beast god when this black bear ambushed me. I was enraged, and fought with it. While this black bear wasn't weak, I still managed to subdue it," Long Xiaoyao said. After hearing Long Xiaoyao's words, Lu Yuan turned to look at Di Tian. Di Tian's face turned red as Lu Yuan stared at him. After all, it wasn't a glorious thing for his soul beasts to ambush him. "Bear Lord, you bastard. Get over here now." Di Tian scolded the huge dark golden terraclaw bear. It was this stupid bear's fault. Di Tian was a little embarrassed. However, he didn't intend to give up on the Bear Lord. After all, the Bear Lord was half a step into the ultimate soul stage. In the Great Douluo forest, he was second only to Di Tian. Di Tian couldn't give up on someone with such fighting strength. My lord. Long Xiaoyao looked at Lu Yuan. Let him go. Lu Yuan nodded at Long Xiaoyao. Elder Long, are you injured? Lu Yuan furrowed his brow and asked when he saw a scratch on Long Xiaoyao's chest. There was some fresh blood on it. Don't worry, my lord. It's just a small injury. I was accidentally scratched by that black bear. Long Xiaoyao said. After hearing this, Lu Yuan looked at the Bear Lord with a cold look in his eyes. However, this cold look disappeared very quickly. They couldn't do anything to the Bear Lord with Di Tian around. However, he would still teach the Bear Lord a lesson when he was strong enough in the future. His people couldn't be bullied by just anyone. It was fine if he fought head-on, but he actually launched a sneak attack. This was unforgivable. However, the Bear Lord actually launched a sneak attack. This didn't seem to match the dark golden Terraclaw bear's personality. Could it be that the Bear Lord's personality had changed after he was beaten up by Di Tian? This wasn't impossible. Elder Baiji, I'll have to trouble you to treat Elder Long's injuries. Lu Yuan said as he looked at Baiji. After speaking, Lu Yuan looked at Di Tian. Didn't you say someone wanted to see me? We can set off now. All right. Di Tian nodded and said to Baiji, Baiji, when the Myriad Demon King and the rest arrive, ask them to wait here. Also, don't get into a conflict with that human. I'll bring him over first. After hearing this, Baiji nodded. Master. Long Xiaoyao looked at Lu Yuan. He wanted to say something, but he didn't. There was a worried look in his eyes. It's all right, Elder Long. Just wait here for me to return. Lu Yuan smiled and said. Yes, Master. Long Xiaoyao couldn't persuade Lu Yuan any further after seeing that he had made up his mind. He could only agree. Let's go. Lu Yuan nodded at Di Tian. All right. Di Tian responded. After that, he grabbed Lu Yuan's body and quickly disappeared. Di Tian was extremely quick. After another 10 minutes, he stopped in his tracks. They were still beside the Lake of Life. However, the life energy here was much denser than where Di Tian had been. The life energy fused into his body without him needing to refine it. If he cultivated here, Lu Yuan was confident that his cultivation speed would increase by 3 or even 4 times. However, this seemed to be a forbidden area. Even though the life energy was extremely dense, there wasn't even a single blade of grass. Di Tian changed his hand seals, and the Lake of Life slowly parted to reveal a pitch-black, circular door. From the looks of it, it was a little similar to the life ruins that Lu Yuan had been to before. They were both related to the use of spatial power. Other than soul masters who could control the spatial elements, only Peak Douluo and Ultimate Douluo could use spatial power. However, it wasn't surprising that Di Tian could do so given his cultivation. Chapter 213. Di Tian took the lead, and Lu Yuan followed closely behind him. Since they were already here, there was no turning back. Moreover, Lu Yuan was also very curious about how the famous Silver Dragon King Jiyu Yuana in the original work was like. As they stepped into the spatial door, a silver light flashed, and a white path of light appeared beneath their feet. There were silver-white screens on both sides of the path of light, and they were displaying the core of the Great Douluo forest. Lu Yuan could even see Long Xiaoyao's face clearly. He was one of the soul beasts that he didn't recognize around Baiji. However, from their appearances, they should be the remaining few savage beasts. Di Tian seemed to have noticed the doubt in Lu Yuan's eyes, and said, "This is a way of using spatial power. It can reflect what's happening outside into it. Even if we can't leave, we can still obtain the information we want." Lu Yuan glanced at Di Tian and said, "I don't think this white path of light and the surrounding silver-white screens are your handiwork." "Why do you say that?" Di Tian looked at Lu Yuan and smiled. "Your true form is a golden-eyed black dragon king. Aside from the Gold and Silver Dragon King and the 9 sons of the Dragon God, you're the current patriarch of the Black Dragon King clan with the purest dragon bloodline. You're proficient in the power of darkness, and you do have some understanding of the power of space. However, you can't do this with your current cultivation unless you can improve further. Lu Yuan said, therefore, I'm guessing that this isn't your handiwork. It must have been set up by someone who's adept at spatial power. Ah, so you do know a little about me. You're not lying. Di Tian looked at Lu Yuan, and there was a tinge of astonishment in his eyes. I never lie, Lu Yuan said. Haha. Di Tian laughed and said, you're right. This isn't my handiwork. It's the handiwork of someone else. Oh. Lu Yuan nodded. Why? Aren't you curious who that person is? Di Tian asked. Aren't we going to see her now? Lu Yuan looked at Di Tian and asked. Heh, you're pretty smart. The corners of Di Tian's mouth curled up into a light smile. This kid's mind was truly extraordinary. The two of them continued walking. Suddenly, on the right side of the light screen, a snow-white voice entered Lu Yuan's eyes. It was a large snow-white silkworm with several rings of golden patterns on its body. Lu Yuan carefully counted them. There were a total of 9 rings. The snow-white silkworm seemed to be trapped in the golden pillar of light. Visible primal energies of the universe emanated from its body and flowed into the many huge nests in front of it. However, these nests were now empty. Is that the Sky Dream Iceworm? Lu Yuan mused. After that, he saw that Di Tian didn't seem to have noticed anything. Di Tian shifted his gaze away, as though he didn't see anything. However, what Lu Yuan didn't see was that after Lu Yuan shifted his gaze away, the golden pillar of light that was imprisoning the Sky Dream Iceworm seemed to have traces of imperceptible cracks. Furthermore, these cracks were gradually deepening. Although these tiny cracks were almost undetectable when compared to the enormous size of the pillar of light, an ant's nest could collapse a 1,000-mile dike. There would be a day when this golden pillar of light would completely collapse. Finally, the white path of light reached its end. With a flash of silver-white light, Lu Yuan appeared in a strange space. This space wasn't dark at all. On the contrary, it was very bright. Pieces of dazzling purple crystals emitted resplendent light, rendering the entire space extremely gorgeous. On the other side of this space, there was an enormous silver dragon that was hundreds of meters long. It had 2 silver horns on its head, and its entire body was covered in fine, hexagonal silver scales. It had a silver tail that was hundreds of meters long, and a pair of enormous dragon wings were spread out behind its back. At this moment, it was crawling on the ground. Its enormous dragon head was watching Lu Yuan and Di Tian. Its purple eyes were filled with an indescribable nobility. Di Tian pays his respects to my lord. Di Tian knelt on one knee and bowed towards the enormous silver dragon. His attitude was extremely respectful. Is this the Silver Dragon King? Lu Yuan muttered to himself as he looked at the enormous silver dragon in front of him. Its aura is rather impressive, but it actually has the appearance of a giant dragon. Where's the promised peerless beauty, Jiu Yuana? Bad review. Perhaps Jiu Yuana's body was extremely beautiful in the eyes of dragons, but Lu Yuan was a human. He couldn't appreciate the beauty of a giant dragon. Is this the child from back then? The dragon opened its head slightly, and a sweet-sounding female voice rang out beside Lu Yuan's ear. Hey, this voice isn't bad. A trace of astonishment appeared on Lu Yuan's face. He thought that it would be a boorish voice. He didn't expect it to be so clear and pleasant. Yes, my lord. Di Tian said. Hurry up and bow to my lord. Di Tian said to Lu Yuan. Bow? Why should I bow? Lu Yuan looked at Di Tian and said, she's the Silver Dragon King, and I have the Golden Dragon bloodline. Why should I bow to her? She's not my lord. Brat, how dare you? Di Tian's face was filled with anger. He immediately shouted and raised his dragon claw slightly. Di Tian, stop. The Silver Dragon King's voice rang out. Her purple eyes looked at Lu Yuan with an indescribable majesty in her eyes. Lu Yuan's body trembled as he felt a strong pressure on his body. This pressure had nothing to do with strength, but came from his bloodline. Lu Yuan growled, and his golden dragon martial soul and golden dragon bloodline burst forth at the same time. Golden light shone, and dragon roars could be heard. The clear energy and the power of the vast ocean also surged crazily, helping Lu Yuan to ease the pressure. Yellow, purple, and black soul rings rippled around Lu Yuan's body. Although Lu Yuan's body was heavy, he still stood upright. The Silver Dragon King's bloodline was indeed superior to the second-generation Golden Dragon Kings. It was comparable to the Golden Dragon Kings. It could also suppress Lu Yuan's second-generation Golden Dragon bloodline to a certain extent. However, the Golden Dragon bloodline came from the Golden Dragon King, not the Silver Dragon King. The Silver Dragon King's bloodline didn't have a significant effect on the Golden Dragon King's bloodline because the two bloodlines came from different sources. Furthermore, Lu Yuan's bloodline was second only to the Golden Dragon King's, and it was one of the highest existences in the dragon race. He also had the clear energy and the power of the vast ocean to ease the pressure. Although the Silver Dragon King's bloodline pressure still existed, it was extremely difficult to make him crawl. However, if the Silver Dragon King was replaced by the Golden Dragon King, Lu Yuan would still have to crawl because it was the source of his bloodline. Unless his bloodline could evolve, he wouldn't be affected. What a pure bloodline, and the combination of these soul rings is also extraordinary. Seeing that Lu Yuan could still stand under the Silver Dragon King's bloodline pressure, Di Tian's face was filled with amazement. Even though he still had to crawl under the Silver Dragon King's pressure, Lu Yuan's body only sank slightly. This meant that Lu Yuan's bloodline was purer than his. Chapter 214. Among the 9 sons of the dragon, apart from the Mountain Dragon King, who was the leader of the 9 great dragon kings, and the Golden Dragon, who was the strongest of the 9 great dragon kings, the rest of the dragon kings all controlled the power of the elements. As long as they controlled the power of the elements, their bloodlines would be completely crushed by the Silver Dragon King. This was because the dragon god had been split into 2 by the Azura god and transformed into the Silver Dragon King and the Golden Dragon King. The Golden Dragon King controlled the dragon god's most powerful physical strength, while the Silver Dragon King controlled the dragon god's elemental power. Any dragon that dominated with physical strength, such as the descendants of the Golden Dragon and the Mountain Dragon King, would be completely crushed by the Golden Dragon King. As long as it was a dragon that controlled the power of the elements, it would be completely crushed by the Silver Dragon. On the other hand, the Golden Dragon could also suppress the dragons that controlled the elements, but that was because its bloodline was purer, so it couldn't completely crush the dragons like the Silver Dragon. On the other hand, the Silver Dragon was also the same to the dragons with the Golden Dragon's bloodline. Of course, this referred to the giant dragons with pure bloodlines. As for the sub-dragons or mixed-blood dragons with inferior bloodlines, both the Golden Dragon and the Silver Dragon could completely suppress them. For example, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon was very famous, but it was actually just a sub-dragon species. Furthermore, the Tyrant Dragon seemed to be related to the Golden Dragon King's bloodline, which was why it was suppressed by Lu Yuan to the point that it couldn't even fight back. If it were the Radiant Holy Dragon, the Golden Dragon could still suppress such a pureblood giant dragon, but it would be impossible to make it crawl. After all, the Radiant Holy Dragon controlled the power of light, and its bloodline source was different from the Golden Dragon's. There was only a difference in level, and there was no bloodline connection. Therefore, when facing the Silver Dragon King's bloodline suppression, the powerful Di Tian had to crawl on the ground, but the weak Lu Yuan could still stand. This was because Di Tian controlled the extreme power of darkness, and his bloodline was directly connected to the Silver Dragon King's bloodline. However, Lu Yuan's second-generation Golden Dragon bloodline didn't. It was that simple. The Silver Dragon King's voice sounded when it saw that Lu Yuan was actually able to resist its bloodline suppression. Not bad. The Silver Dragon King withdrew its suppression and said to Di Tian, "Di Tian, you may leave." "Yes." Di Tian bowed before he turned around and left. Only the Silver Dragon King and Lu Yuan remained in the vast space. "Child, long time no see." The Silver Dragon King said in a gentle voice. "Wait, what did you call me?" Lu Yuan frowned when he heard the Silver Dragon King call him child. A child? The Silver Dragon King asked. Don't, I'm not your bloodline descendant. Don't call me child, it feels weird. Just call me by my name. Then what is your name? Silver Dragon King asked. Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan? A hidden dragon in the abyss. Not bad. Silver Dragon King said. But since you told me your name, I'll tell you mine too. My name is Gu Yuana, Silver Dragon King said. Of course, I know that. Lu Yuan thought to himself, but he still praised it. Good name. Hee hee. Gu Yuana's clear voice sounded. The voice was very pleasant to hear, but coupled with the dragon's body that was hundreds of meters tall, Lu Yuan had a strange feeling. By the way, can you transform into a human? It's very tiring for me to raise my head and talk to you, Lu Yuan said. Transform into a human? Gu Yuana's huge purple eyes blinked and said, I'm injured. It's better for me to heal in my original form. However, since you have such a request, it won't affect me much if I transform into a human for a short period of time. As Gu Yuana spoke, a silver-white light was released from her body. When the light dissipated, a graceful figure appeared in front of Lu Yuan. She was about 1.75 meters tall and had long silver hair. Her figure was flawless as if it was carved by the heavens. Her skin was ice and her bones were jade. Her face was as beautiful as a fairy's, and her purple eyes were filled with indescribable mystery and nobility. Beautiful, so beautiful. Gu Yuana's appearance was truly devastatingly beautiful. She was worthy of being ranked as the #1 beauty on the Douluo continent in his previous life. Her appearance was not inferior to Chihiro Snow's at all, and her temperament was even slightly superior. After all, she was once a high and mighty god. Although her strength had declined due to her injuries, her temperament had not dissipated. Lu Yuan felt that Chihiro Snow would only be able to compete with Gu Yuana after becoming a god and gaining the temperament of a god. The current Chihiro Snow was still slightly inferior to Gu Yuana. After all, the most enchanting thing about Chihiro Snow was her holiness, and this holiness could only be fully stimulated after inheriting the divine position of the six-winged angel. Beautiful? Gu Yuana blinked her beautiful eyes and looked at Lu Yuan in confusion. Are you talking about me? Yes. Lu Yuan nodded. You are the first person to say that I am beautiful. Am I really that beautiful? Gu Yuana looked at Lu Yuan and said with a serious expression. Of course, your beauty is rarely matched in this world. How come no one has ever said that before? Lu Yuan asked. No, we soul beasts only care about power, but you seem to care a lot about your appearance, Gu Yuana said as she stroked her own cheek. Of course. Lu Yuan chuckled and said, I am obsessed with appearance. Obsessed with appearance? What is that? Gu Yuana was a little confused by Lu Yuan's words. Obsessed with appearance means that I prefer beautiful women, Lu Yuan explained. You like beautiful women? Gu Yuana looked at Lu Yuan with a strange expression and said, then you are really not like the soul beasts of the dragon race. We soul beasts worship the strong. I'm not a soul beast. Lu Yuan retorted. We humans prefer those who are beautiful. Then you humans are really strange, Gu Yuana said with a serious expression. Lu Yuan, the current Gu Yuana was still not the Gu Yuana that had experienced the human world in Fighting 3. Her thoughts were still stuck in the world of soul beasts, so in Lu Yuan's eyes, she was more adorable and naive, as if she did not know anything about the world. However, it was normal when he thought about it. The Silver Dragon King had been recuperating at the bottom of the Great Star-Do Forest's Lake of Life ever since he escaped from the Divine Realm. He had never interacted with the human world, so it was not strange that his thinking could not change. Did you just say that I am beautiful? Gu Yuana asked. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded. Then do you like me? Gu Yuana asked. Lu Yuan, you are not saying anything because you don't like me? But didn't you say that you like beautiful women? Gu Yuana looked at Lu Yuan with a puzzled expression. Lu Yuan was speechless, and the corner of his mouth twitched. He said, I like beautiful women, but liking and liking are two different things. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Jiu Yuana was a little confused. What is the difference between liking and liking? Chapter 215. Lu Yuan's lips twitched at the sight of Jiu Yuana's serious and perplexed expression. Jiu Yuana was very powerful, but she really didn't seem to know anything about love. She was even asking him if he liked her. Lu Yuan was truly speechless. How could he just say that he liked her? Furthermore, she had just called him a child not long ago. With that in mind, Lu Yuan was even more perplexed. What I'm saying is that I like beautiful women, but that doesn't mean that I'll definitely like them. Lu Yuan heaved a resigned sigh before asking, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" "I don't." Jiu Yuana shook her head. Lu Yuan stroked his forehead as he said, "What I'm saying is that I like beautiful women, but that's only because I admire beautiful things, and it's not that kind of love between a man and a woman. Do you understand what I'm saying?" "I understand." Jiu Yuana nodded, and said, "So you're saying that I'm beautiful because you admire my beauty, but you don't like me?" "That's right." Lu Yuan nodded. "Then why don't you like me?" Jiu Yuana asked. Lu Yuan, "So be it, let's not continue this topic." Lu Yuan stroked his forehead, and he was feeling a little weary. "Like you? I fell in love with you the first time we met. What kind of person would that make me?" Lu Yuan thought to himself. However, he had to admit that Jiu Yuana's exquisitely beautiful features were extremely pleasing to the eye. "By the way, why do you want to see me? Or do you have something that you want me to do?" Lu Yuan looked at Jiu Yuana with a serious expression. A faint smile appeared on Jiu Yuana's face at the sight of the confusion in Lu Yuan's eyes, and her smile was devastatingly beautiful. She turned to Lu Yuan and asked, "Do you know where your golden dragon bloodline came from?" Lu Yuan shook his head in response. Jiu Yuana smiled, and said, "It's normal that you don't know. After all, you were only an infant at the time, and you hadn't even opened your eyes yet. I'll have to start from the battle of the divine realm." Jiu Yuana sighed with a bleak expression. "War of the gods?" Lu Yuan trembled when he heard this. He naturally knew a little about this matter. However, his heart was somewhat moved when he saw Jiu Yuana's bleak expression. It was also after the War of the Divine Realm that the soul beasts were slowly reduced to their current state under the secret suppression of the gods. Even if they cultivated to 1,000,000 years, such as the deep-sea magic whale king, they were still rejected from the divine realm. In the end, it was schemed against by the sea god and the Azura god and became Tangsan's soul ring. Of course, Lu Yuan didn't care about the fate of the deep-sea monster whale king. He just casually mentioned it. However, Lu Yuan had to admit that the fate of the soul beasts was indeed unfair, but there was nothing he could do about it. The strong preyed on the weak, and he had no choice but to admit that they were the ones who had lost to the soul beasts. If the soul beasts had won back then, the humans might have been the ones enslaved now. After all, the soul beasts were in charge, and Lu Yuan didn't think that the fate of humans would be any better. The war between races was just that cruel. Thus, he felt some sympathy for the soul beasts, but that was all. Jiu Yuana said, "Back then, the gods of the divine realm suppressed us soul beasts in every possible way. The dragon god couldn't bear to see us being bullied, so he led the soul beasts to resist the rule of the divine realm committee. However, the gods of the divine realm were too powerful, and we were outnumbered. The 5 godly monarchs teamed up to deal with the dragon god. Although the dragon god was invincible, he couldn't take on the 5 of them alone. In the end, the Azura god ambushed him and sliced him in half. After the dragon god was sliced in half, he turned into 2 dragon monarchs, 1 gold and 1 silver. The silver dragon king is me, and the other is the golden dragon king, which is the origin of your golden dragon bloodline. During the war in the divine realm, our soul beasts suffered heavy casualties, especially the dragons. Almost all of our pure bloodlines were destroyed. The 9 dragon monarchs were all first-tier gods, but they were all killed by the gods of the divine realm. The golden dragon king was trapped in the divine realm, and I was the only one who escaped. I've been hiding under the Lake of Life in the Great Douluo forest ever since. It's a pity that my injuries were too severe. Even after so many years, I've only recovered a little. If I want to fully recover, it'll take at least 20,000 years. Jiyu Yuana's voice was very calm, but the resentment and killing intent in her voice made Lu Yuan feel quite alarmed. Even though she was severely wounded, she was most likely still one of the most powerful beings on the entire Douluo continent. Anyone who hadn't reached the divine realm was most likely no match for her. Lu Yuan reckoned that even though Jiyu Yuana's powers had declined due to her severe injuries, she was still most likely comparable to a third-tier god. If she recovered from her injuries, then it was very likely that she could become a second-tier god, or even a first-tier god. If she recovered from her injuries and regained her original strength, she would be in existence comparable to a divine king. Even if she could not defeat the god of destruction and the god of Azura, she would still be a divine king. A first-level god would not be able to compare to her. Lu Yuan's heart faltered slightly upon hearing this. Even though he was quite alarmed, he wasn't fearful. This was because Jiyu Yuana didn't harbor any ill will toward him. From the very beginning, she had been quite gentle toward him aside from releasing her aura. But what does this have to do with the origin of my bloodline? Lu Yuan asked. Jiyu Yuana smiled, and said, "Do you know who's the most powerful being in our dragon clan aside from the Gold and Silver Dragon King and his 9 sons? Could it be the Black Dragon King who is in charge of the dragon tribe's law enforcement? Could it be the former Dragon King of Di Tian's tribe?" Jiyu Yuana shook her head, and replied, "The Black Dragon King is quite powerful, but there's a being who's even more powerful than him. This being is comparable in power to the 9 Dragon Kings, and it was also a first-tier god." "Who is it?" Lu Yuan asked. "The second-generation Golden Dragon, who possesses the purest Golden Dragon King bloodline. He's also the previous master of your bloodline," Jiyu Yuana replied. "What?" Hearing this, Lu Yuan could not help but exclaim. Jiyu Yuana continued at the sight of Lu Yuan's astonishment. "Back when I fled to the divine realm, he was the only one who returned with me. However, his injuries were far too severe, and even with the immense life force energy of the Lake of Life, he was only able to prolong his feeble existence for a few more days. After persevering for so many years, he still reached the end of his life 10 years ago. 10 years ago? Lu Yuan's heart trembled upon hearing this. He had a feeling that what was about to happen next had something to do with him. On that day, he reached the end of his life, and his bloodline began to dissipate. His divine power began to crumble, and his consciousness also began to disintegrate. I could only look on, but there was nothing I could do to help him." Jiyu Yuana's voice was tinged with a hint of helplessness and remorse. She hated herself for being so powerless as she watched another pure-blooded dragon perish before her eyes. However, Jiyu Yuana's tone suddenly changed as she spoke. Chapter 216. However, something unexpected happened at this moment. Jiyu Yuana stared at Lu Yuan with her purple eyes as she spoke. Lu Yuan was confused. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Jiyu Yuana didn't notice Lu Yuan's expression, and continued, "When the second golden dragon died, only Di Tian, Bai Ji, and I were present. We all thought that there wouldn't be anyone with the pure golden dragon's bloodline in this world after the second golden dragon died, and we were all very sad. It's not easy to pass down the bloodline of the dragons, and too many pure dragon bloodlines have already been lost. It would be a pity if the golden dragon's bloodline, which is of the highest quality, was also lost." However, a streak of purple light suddenly descended from the sky as if it had sensed our thoughts. This purple light was extremely noble, and possessed a supreme aura that I've never felt before. This aura made my heart tremble, and that was the first time I've felt such an aura. It was definitely far beyond the godly king level. At that time, the purple light completely enveloped the second-generation golden dragon. As the purple light shone, the second-generation golden dragon's scattered bloodline actually began to slowly gather again. Later on, when the purple light dissipated, the second-generation golden dragon was indeed dead, but a young human infant appeared where it was. His body had extremely dense fluctuations of the golden dragon's bloodline. "That infant was you." Jiyu Yuana stared at Lu Yuan with her purple eyes as she spoke. So that's how my golden dragon's bloodline came about. After hearing Jiyu Yuana's words, Lu Yuan's heart was in turmoil. He had always wondered when his golden dragon's bloodline had come about, and he didn't expect it to be here. As for that purple light, Lu Yuan didn't have to think to know that it must have come from that stupid system. No wonder he saw the 100-year saber-tooth lightning tiger when he opened his eyes. He was actually born in the Great Star Do Forest. You were still young back then, and you looked like a human baby. We didn't know how to raise a human child, and I thought about it for a long time. In the end, I asked Di Tian to place you outside the Great Star Do Forest. I thought that if someone passed by, they would take you away and raise you. Now, it seems like I was right. Jiyu Yuana smiled and said. Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. You still have the nerve to say that. Even if you want to release me, you should release me further away. You can even release me in a human town. You actually left me at the outskirts of the Great Star Do Forest. If not for the fellows, I would have been eaten by the saber-tooth lightning tiger a long time ago. How can you still see me now? This Di Tian fellow was truly unreliable. He would definitely give him a good beating in the future. He had almost caused yours truly to lose his life. Lu Yuan said angrily in his heart. Now you know where your bloodline came from, right? You may look like a human right now, but you possess the purest second-generation golden dragon bloodline. You're still a member of our dragon race, Jiyu Yuana said. Don't treat me as a member of the dragon race. I really can't afford to get involved in the muddy waters of the dragon race. Lu Yuan muttered in his heart, but he didn't say it out loud. There were only a few powerful dragons in the dragon race, and they were even enemies with the gods in the god realm. Lu Yuan didn't want to get involved in such muddy waters. He could unify the entire continent and just beat up little Tang San. Did he have to get involved with the dragon race and become enemies with the gods in the god realm? Lu Yuan didn't want to do something so strenuous and unrewarding. However, he finally understood what this stupid system meant when it said that he owed a karmic debt, and he needed a life spirit crystal to repay it. He had stolen the second-generation golden dragon bloodline, and the karmic debt between him and the dragon race was huge. It just so happened that Jiyu Yuana was injured. Wasn't this life spirit crystal the best thing to use to settle the karmic debt? This damn system's arrangements were really thorough. Alright, I got it. So why did you call me here? Lu Yuan asked. I just wanted to see you. Jiyu Yuana blinked and said. Do you think I'll believe you? Lu Yuan rolled his eyes. Hee hee. Jiyu Yuana laughed lightly, and then her face became serious, and said, Our dragon race is declining now, and as a member of the dragon race, we have to work hard for the rise of the dragon race. You have the purest golden dragon bloodline, and our dragon race needs your strength. I knew you must have something to ask me. Lu Yuan sighed, found a clean place, and sat down. Jiyu Yuana blinked her eyes, and actually walked to Lu Yuan's side and sat down. A delicate fragrance from Jiyu Yuana's body entered Lu Yuan's nose. Looking at Jiyu Yuana's perfect face, Lu Yuan said, With my current strength, I can't help you, right? I didn't say I need your help now. Jiyu Yuana laughed. With your current talent and strength, I think you will be able to reach Di Tian's level in at most a few decades, and you are different from us. Although you have the bloodline of the dragon race, you are still a human, and those gods will not reject you. With your talent, it should not be difficult for you to become a god. At that time, you will be able to help us. Moreover, if I'm not wrong, you already have divine power in your body, a bit like the sea god's power of the vast ocean. There is also another type of power, but it doesn't seem to have any attributes, which is a bit strange. Jiyu Yuana said with a smile. Hearing this, Lu Yuan glanced at Jiyu Yuana. As expected of the Silver Dragon King, her eyesight was not ordinary, nothing could be hidden from her, but since she could not hide it, there was no need to hide it. Lu Yuan waved his right hand, and the vast ocean heaven cover appeared in his hand. Do you recognize this thing? Sea God's heart. As expected, you have been chosen by the sea god. The corner of Jiyu Yuana's mouth revealed a trace of a smile, and said, I already said that with your talent, it would not be difficult for you to become a god, but this position of the sea god is still a little lacking. Although the sea god was a first-tier god, in the eyes of Jiu Yuana, who was comparable to a divine king, it was still a little low. I didn't say that I would inherit the position of the sea god. Lu Yuan took back the sea god's heart. I have my own path to walk. Oh. Could it be that you are valued by other gods? More powerful than the sea god. Could it be a divine king? Which divine king is it? Or are you preparing to create your own divine position? Jiu Yuana looked at Lu Yuan curiously, with a questioning look in her eyes. Although she hated the gods of the divine realm, if there was a divine king who was willing to pass down his divine position to Lu Yuan, who was one of their own, she would not mind. After all, that way, it would be the power of the dragon race that would be strong. If one were to talk about creating their own divine position, then creating a divine king-level divine position would still be somewhat difficult. As such, Jiu Yuana was still quite curious about the path that Lu Yuan was going to walk. Lu Yuan fell silent for a moment upon hearing this, and then said, "If I don't want to tell you now, will you be angry?" Jiu Yuana faltered slightly upon hearing this, and said, "No, it's normal to have your own secrets. As long as you are doing it for the good of the dragon race, I don't mind you having your own secrets." Chapter 217. Hearing this, Lu Yuan was silent. Suddenly, he looked at Jiu Yuana and said, if I'm not willing to work for the dragon race, can I get out alive today?" Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Jiu Yuana narrowed her eyes and stared at Lu Yuan with her purple eyes. "Guess." Her voice was calm, as if there were no fluctuations in her emotions, but it made Lu Yuan's heart tremble. The calmer it was, the more dangerous it was. Lu Yuan sighed and said, "Sigh, I'm born to be busy. Everything has to be done on me." There was already a martial soul palace, and Lu Yuan was the disciple of the Pope and the boyfriend of the Saintess, so he had to unify the continent. Now that he was involved in the karma of the dragon race, he couldn't get rid of it. He had to lead the soul beasts to become enemies with the gods. He had to do it because the Silver Dragon King was watching him from the side. He was afraid that if he didn't agree, he wouldn't be able to see the sun tomorrow. Sigh, why was his life so bitter? It can't be helped. Who asked you to be the most special existence in our dragon race and the one most likely to become a god? Other than you, Di Tian and the others can't become a god. Our soul beast race must have our own god. Jiu Yuana sighed. Aren't you a god too? Lu Yuan asked. But I'm injured, and I'm too weak alone. It's impossible for me to counterattack the divine world. If you help me, the pressure will be much less. Jiu Yuana said. Sigh, I'm not trying to discourage you, but it's extremely difficult for soul beasts to counterattack the divine world. Back then, even the dragon god failed. Do you think we can do it? Lu Yuan said. If I'm alone, it might be difficult, but with you, I think it's very possible. Back then, that purple light was supreme, and its aura was far more terrifying than a divine king. After that purple light dissipated, you appeared. I'm sure that you must be the savior that the heavens arranged for our dragon race. Jiu Yuana looked at Lu Yuan with burning eyes. Is that why you're treating me so nicely? Lu Yuan thought to himself. Silver Dragon King Jiu Yuana was the current supreme ruler of the soul beasts, so her aura was definitely extraordinary. However, she was treating him in such a gentle manner, and she had even transformed into her human form upon hearing Lu Yuan's casual mention of his name. It appeared that she had been intimidated by the aura of the system back then, and thus believed that he was the savior of the soul beasts. However, she wasn't wrong. If Lu Yuan could comprehend the profundity of the clear air divine seed and create his own divine seat, he could even surpass the god kings in one go. At that level, it wouldn't be a problem for him to fight against 5 god kings alone. It wouldn't be impossible for him to give the soul beast clan a chance to shine. Lu Yuan, our dragon tribe really needs you. Jiu Yuana said in a soft voice as she looked at Lu Yuan with a hopeful expression. I can promise you that. After all, the blood of the dragon race flows in my veins. I still have to repay this karma. Lu Yuan's tone was indifferent. Was the karma between him and the dragon tribe really something that could be repaid with a life spirit crystal? The answer was no. Over the years, the Golden Dragon martial soul and the Golden Dragon bloodline had helped him a lot. Without the Golden Dragon martial soul, he wouldn't have been able to enter the martial soul palace, and he wouldn't have been able to meet his teacher, Bibidon. He also wouldn't have been able to meet Chihiro Snow, Hulena, and Jujuching. Not to mention winning the heart of a beauty. Of course, he wouldn't have his current strength and status. It could be said that without the Golden Dragon martial soul, he wouldn't have everything he had now. How could a mere life spirit crystal compare to this? As long as the Golden Dragon bloodline flowed in his veins, the bond between him and the dragon tribe would always exist. However, I have a condition. If you don't agree, even if you kill me, I won't help you. Lu Yuan said. What condition? Say it. Jiu Yuana said. I can work for the dragon tribe, and even give the soul beasts a chance to become gods in the future. However, I have a request. The soul beasts must live in harmony with the human race in the future. They can't take the initiative to start a war. Lu Yuan said. He could give the soul beasts a chance to become gods in the future, but he couldn't allow the soul beasts to be above the human race. No matter what, even if he had the Golden Dragon bloodline in his veins, he was still a human. Hearing this, Jiu Yuana frowned. This is my bottom line, Lu Yuan said indifferently. But how can the human race and the soul beasts live in harmony? As long as a soul master needs a soul ring, the human race and the soul beasts will never live in harmony. Jiu Yuana said. This is my business. I have my own considerations. You just have to agree. The fact that a soul master needed a soul ring for cultivation was actually limited by the laws of this world, resulting in this somewhat abnormal cultivation method. Of course, it was also possible that the God realm was behind this in order to weaken the power of the soul beasts. After so many years of development, this cultivation method had long been deeply rooted. If one wanted to change the cultivation method of a soul master, perhaps even a divine king couldn't do it. However, Lu Yuan was an exception. Don't forget that the clear air divine seed controlled the power of laws. As long as Lu Yuan comprehended the clear air divine seed, it wasn't impossible for Lu Yuan to achieve this. All right, I promise you. Jiu Yuana looked deeply into Lu Yuan's eyes and nodded after a long time. Okay, then I also agree. In this life, I will definitely help you break the seal of the God realm and give all the soul beasts a chance to become God, Lu Yuan said in a sonorous voice. Jiu Yuana looked at Lu Yuan's solemn expression and sighed in relief. Finally, she saw the hope of the soul beasts in Lu Yuan. I have something for you. A faint smile appeared on Jiu Yuana's face as she swept a hand through the air, and a shimmering golden spear appeared in her grasp. The spear was around 3 meters in length, and both ends of the spear were as sharp as shuttles. It didn't appear to be made of metal, instead, it appeared to be made of wood. As soon as the spear appeared, Lu Yuan could sense an extremely intimate aura, as if it were naturally compatible with him. Golden Dragon Spear. Lu Yuan accepted the spear from Jiu Yuana, and he could sense a burst of elation emanating from the Golden Dragon Spear, as if it were elated to have met him. Looks like it really likes you. If it weren't for the fact that I've been suppressing it all these years, perhaps it would have flown to your side a long time ago. Jiu Yuana chuckled at the sight of Lu Yuan's elated expression. Lu Yuan turned to Jiu Yuana with an inquisitive look in his eyes upon hearing this. Jiu Yuana smiled, and said, The Golden Dragon Spear is an indispensable part of the Golden Dragon, and there is an indescribable connection between the two. As long as the Golden Dragon Spear is with me, you'll come to my side sooner or later. See, you're here now. Chapter 218. You sure are scheming. Lu Yuan appraised Jiu Yuana with a hint of a smile on his face. As expected, the more beautiful a woman was, the more scheming she was. Chihiro Snow was exactly like that. He was extremely scheming and cunning. Jiu Yuana was also the same. Even though she knew nothing about love and relationships, her scheming skills were definitely not inferior to his. I had no choice. The human world is so big, and I'm still injured, so it really wasn't convenient for me to find you. As such, I could only think of a way to make you come to me, Jiu Yuana said as she looked at Lu Yuan. You won't blame me, will you? Jiu Yuana blinked her purple eyes as she looked at Lu Yuan. What do you think? Lu Yuan looked at Jiu Yuana with a smile. I don't think you will. After all, a possessor of the Golden Dragon bloodline wouldn't be so stingy. Jiu Yuana chuckled. The corner of Lu Yuan's mouth twitched when he heard that. What else could he say when his words were blocked? This Jiu Yuana's eloquence was quite sharp. Lu Yuan couldn't be bothered to bicker with her. Instead, he carefully inspected the golden dragon spear in his hand. According to legend, this golden dragon spear was formed from the 49th rib of the Golden Dragon King. As a descendant of the Golden Dragon King, all golden dragons only had 48 ribs. Legend had it that the golden dragon spear contained the secret to evolving a golden dragon into a golden dragon king, but no one knew whether that was true or not. Lu Yuan didn't care whether that was true or not. All he cared about was that he finally had a weapon that was exclusive to him, and this golden dragon spear was definitely the most suitable weapon for him. As he held it in his hand, he felt as if he were in perfect harmony with it. It was as if it had become a part of his body, and he could wield it as he wished. Furthermore, this golden dragon spear could devour the soul power and blood essence of others before converting them into pure energy for him. With this golden dragon spear, he basically didn't have to worry about his combat prowess deteriorating due to a lack of soul power. This golden dragon spear was a genuine divine weapon. Lu Yuan gently waved it through the air. This golden dragon spear seemed to possess the ability to change its own weight, and it was very comfortable in his hand. It was neither too light nor too heavy. With the development of his golden dragon bloodline and the enhancement of his physique, as well as his level, Lu Yuan's strength continued to increase. When he was at rank 29, Lu Yuan's strength had just broken through 10,000 kilograms. Now, even without using his martial soul, Lu Yuan's physical strength had already reached 20,000 kilograms. His defensive abilities had also increased significantly. A 15,000-year dark golden Terraclaw bear's soul ring was indeed worthy of its reputation. It almost doubled his strength. Lu Yuan remembered that when Tang San was in the Soul Sect, the Clear Sky Hammer weighed only a few hundred kilograms. In terms of strength, the Clear Sky Hammer was like a little brother in front of him. Even if it was the Strength clan that specialized in strength, and even if it was a Strength-type Soul Master of the ultimate style, Lu Yuan would still be able to destroy it with a single punch. Ultimate strength wasn't just for show. He wasn't called the ancestor of power for nothing. With this golden dragon spear, perhaps it won't take long for me to break through to spear intent, Lu Yuan thought to himself. A spear that could harmonize with one's body was extremely important for a spear user. This was because he would be able to better reach the realm of one with the spear, just like the realm of one with the sword in the way of the sword. Becoming one with the spear was actually one of the signs of comprehending spear intent. As long as one could achieve that, comprehending spear intent would only be a matter of time. The appearance of the golden dragon spear would allow Lu Yuan to reach the realm of one with the spear even faster. This was because this was a spear that was most compatible with Lu Yuan, and they naturally resonated with each other. Lu Yuan. Jiu Yuana called out softly as she watched Lu Yuan gently wave the golden dragon spear in his hand. After hearing Jiu Yuana's voice, Lu Yuan stopped what he was doing and glanced at her. Lu Yuan sighed softly as he looked at Jiu Yuana's beautiful figure. Indeed, he couldn't blame her. She was also thinking for the Dragon Clan. He was a man, so he couldn't keep harping on such trivial matters. How's your body now? Were your injuries really that severe? Lu Yuan asked in a soft voice as he looked at Jiu Yuana. Yes. Jiu Yuana nodded as her beautiful brows furrowed. During the battle in the Divine Realm, my body was invaded by the Azura God's power of slaughter and the Destruction God's power of destruction, and my injuries have always been very severe. Even though I've been using the pure life force energy of the Lake of Life to recover during these past few years, the powers of slaughter and destruction within my body are very difficult to dispel. I have to use my own divine power to slowly dispel them. However, I'm currently severely injured, and my powers are very low. It'll take a very long time for me to dispel these two types of divine power. I've made a rough estimate that it'll take me at least 20,000 years. Jiu Yuana sighed as a hint of exasperation appeared in her eyes. She was only a third-tier god, so it would be extremely difficult for her to dispel the divine power left behind by the God King. As such, she could only waste time. Hearing this, Lu Yuan's expression changed as he finally sighed. Just as he was about to speak, the system's voice suddenly sounded. Ding! Sign-in mission completed. Congratulations to host for obtaining a treasure chest. Do you wish to open it? Chem. Lu Yuan's eyes moved. Open it. Ding. Congratulations to host for obtaining one of the 9 esoteric words. In a place where only Lu Yuan could see, a light rose up and entered Lu Yuan's mind. Esoteric word? Lu Yuan whispered. He was no stranger to this esoteric word. It was a supreme secret technique of the shrouding the heavens' great world. It had a huge miraculous effect on healing injuries. It could be said that with the esoteric word, no matter how severe the injury was, it would be very difficult to die. Being reborn from a drop of blood was not a dream. This esoteric word could do it. Of course, it was possible to do so. However, one would need to study the esoteric character to a certain level to have such an effect. For beginners, unless it was a fatal injury like an explosion in the brain or a ruptured heart, other injuries such as a broken arm, even if they had only learned a little bit of it, would be a small problem for them to recover. But why did the system reward me with the esoteric word? One had to know that the esoteric word's main effect was to heal injuries. It was important for a long battle, but it couldn't directly increase one's battle strength because it wasn't a great offensive skill. The truly powerful offensive skill should be the esoteric word of the 9 esoteric words. That was the true invincible existence. But Lu Yuan looked at Jiu Yuana in front of him and had a guess in his heart. Dog system, you're really good to this Silver Dragon King Jiu Yuana. Tell me, did you want me to give this esoteric word to her? System, I knew you wouldn't answer. But even if you did, I wouldn't give it to her right now. At the very least, I would give it to Xiao Shui and the others first. Lu Yuan secretly said. Chihiro Snow and the others were his women. This kind of thing naturally had to be given to his own people first. After all, there was a difference between close and distant. Chapter 219. The esoteric character was extremely profound, and it wasn't something that could be comprehended in a short period of time. Lu Yuan had no intention of imparting it to anyone for the time being. At the very least, he had to learn it himself first. After he learned it, he was going to impart it to Chihiro Snow, Hulena, Zhu Zhuqing, and of course, Bibidon. As for Jiu Yuana, even though they were getting along quite well, they had only known each other for a short period of time, so she was still an outsider in Lu Yuan's heart. Once she gained Lu Yuan's approval, then Lu Yuan naturally wouldn't be stingy with this esoteric character. However, Lu Yuan wasn't going to take the Golden Dragon Spear and not do anything about it. He would repay the karma of the Golden Dragon bloodline by giving the soul beast a chance to become a god. As for the Golden Dragon Spear, he would also repay it with a life spirit crystal. He never liked to owe anyone anything. As for the esoteric character, he still hadn't found a reason to give it to Jiu Yuana. He didn't need a reason to give something to someone close to him, but he still needed a reason to give something as precious as this to an outsider. A faint smile appeared on Lu Yuan's face as he looked at Jiu Yuana's exquisite features. I have something here that might be able to help with your injuries. Oh! Jiu Yuana blinked her beautiful eyes as she smiled. What is it? Lu Yuan opened his palm, and a jade-green crystal appeared in Lu Yuan's hand. It was exuding rich life spirit energy. It was life spirit energy, not life energy. The difference between the two was as vast as the difference between divine power and soul power. This is a life spirit crystal. Jiu Yuana exclaimed with a hint of surprise in her eyes. She didn't think that Lu Yuan would have something like this. How is it? This should be very useful for your injuries, right? Lu Yuan chuckled. Yes. This life spirit crystal contains the purest life spirit chi, as well as the power of the laws of life. It'll be very beneficial to my injuries, and with this life spirit crystal, I'll be able to make a full recovery in 50 years at most, Jiu Yuana said with a hint of elation in her voice. Is that so? Here you go. Lu Yuan threw the life crystal to Jiu Yuana. Be careful. Jiu Yuana gave Lu Yuan a reproachful look and quickly took the life crystal. Jiu Yuana appraised it for a moment before stowing it away. How did you get this life crystal? Jiu Yuana's eyes were filled with curiosity. One had to know that the life crystal was the most precious treasure of the goddess of life. Ordinary gods couldn't get their hands on it. She didn't expect Lu Yuan to have it. Back then, I went to the ruins of the goddess of life and obtained this spirit crystal of life. I originally wanted to use it, but I always had a premonition in my heart that this thing was very important and might be of great use, so I kept it. I didn't expect that it would really come in handy today, Lu Yuan said with a faint smile. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Jiu Yuana looked at Lu Yuan with a hint of gratitude in her eyes. With this life spirit crystal of life, she would be able to recover from her injuries much faster. In 50 years at most, she would be able to return as the Silver Dragon King with power comparable to a godly monarch. There's no need for that. Didn't you give me your golden dragon spear? I don't like owing people things, Lu Yuan said. No, the golden dragon spear was originally yours, so I'm the one who owes you now, Jiu Yuana said in a serious manner. The golden dragon spear belonged to the golden dragon, and Lu Yuan had the bloodline of the second-generation golden dragon, so she was merely returning Lu Yuan's possession to him. Do as you wish. Lu Yuan waved a hand at the sight of Jiu Yuana's serious expression, and he didn't seem to care at all. However, he was actually quite happy that Jiu Yuana knew how to be grateful. This meant that she was a grateful person. No, she was a grateful dragon. However, Lu Yuan had to admit that the relationship between soul beasts was indeed more genuine and purer. Gratitude was gratitude, unlike the human race, where there were many ungrateful people. It had to be said that this was one of the advantages soul beasts had over humans. Soul beasts didn't plot and scheme against one another. Jiu Yuana had only taken the golden dragon spear because she wanted to see him. She didn't harbor any ill will toward him, she was doing this for the sake of the entire soul beast race. She was actually a very nice dragon. In reality, Lu Yuan was extremely intelligent, but he didn't like to plot against others. He had only done so much for the sake of Chihiro Snow and the martial Soul Palace. Otherwise, with his personality, he would have loved to be a lone wolf. As long as you don't provoke me, I can't be bothered with you. However, Lu Yuan wasn't destined to be a lone wolf anymore. Whether it was the martial Soul Palace or the mission of the dragon race, Lu Yuan couldn't help but think about these things. Helping the martial Soul Palace unify the continent was for the sake of their relationship. Fighting for a chance for soul beasts to become gods was for the sake of their karma and promise. Since he had promised Jiu Yuana, he had to fulfill his promise. He might be very powerful now, but the martial Soul Palace, Long Xiaoyaro, and Jiu Yuana, who could barely be considered an ally, were all very powerful. However, his potential opponents were also extraordinarily powerful. The two great empires, the upper three sects, Tang San, and the various gods of the god realm could really be said to be enemies with the entire world. But so what? This ignited Lu Yuan's ambition. The greater the challenge, the more interested he was. Furthermore, his greatest advantage now was that none of his potential opponents knew his true identity. This gave him a chance to divide them and sow discord. In fact, if he inherited a god's godly position in the future, that god might not even know that he was their enemy. Thinking about it carefully, it was actually quite interesting. Lu Yuan revealed a smile on his face as he thought about it. Lu Yuan retracted his thoughts and turned to Jiu Yuana. Is there anything else you want to tell me? No. Jiu Yuana's voice sounded. Then send me out. Lu Yuan said softly. Why? Do you not want to stay with me that much? Jiu Yuana asked. Of course not. I've already said that I'm obsessed with looks. You're also so beautiful. Why wouldn't I want to stay with you? It's just that one of my subordinates is injured, and I want to go out and take a look. Lu Yuan looked at Jiu Yuana and smiled. If that's the case, I'll get Di Tian to send you out. Jiu Yuana blushed as Lu Yuan stared at her. Okay. Lu Yuan nodded. Jiu Yuana immediately called for Di Tian when she saw this. Di Tian's black figure appeared and brought Lu Yuan out of this strange space. Jiu Yuana was the only one left in this place. As she watched the two of them leave, Jiu Yuana recalled the shy feeling she felt when Lu Yuan stared at her. She couldn't help but murmur, what exactly is this feeling? Also, what is the like that he mentioned? Why did he say that he admires my beauty, but doesn't like me? I really don't understand. Jiu Yuana was puzzled. Chapter 220. Lu Yuan and Di Tian's figures slowly appeared beside the Lake of Life. As he looked at the golden dragon spear in Lu Yuan's hand, Di Tian said, "It seems like you had a good conversation with my master. She actually gave it to you. It was a good conversation. Furthermore, this golden dragon spear can only be used by those with the golden dragon's bloodline. Isn't it normal for her to give it to me?" Lu Yuan said. "That's true." Di Tian laughed. "What did my master say to you?" Di Tian looked at Lu Yuan and was a little curious. Even he wasn't qualified to listen in on the conversation between Jiu Yuana and Lu Yuan. How could he not be curious about what they were talking about? He didn't dare to ask Jiu Yuana, but he wanted to get some answers from Lu Yuan. "Do you want to know?" Lu Yuan looked at Di Tian. "Yes." Di Tian nodded. "Why don't you ask her yourself?" Lu Yuan asked. "My master doesn't want me to know, and I don't dare to ask her." Di Tian sighed and said. "I see." Lu Yuan laughed and said, "Since she doesn't want you to know, I can't tell you either." "You rascal." Di Tian scolded him. The two of them quickly rushed back. There were already several huge soul beasts gathered in Di Tian's territory. Lu Yuan and Di Tian arrived. "Elder Long, are you all right?" Lu Yuan didn't care about the other unfamiliar soul beasts as he walked straight towards Long Xiaoyao. "My master, I'm fine now. It's all thanks to Miss Bai Ji's help," Long Xiaoyao said. Lu Yuan looked at Long Xiaoyao. The claw marks on his body had already recovered, and only his clothes were a little damaged. It seemed like he had recovered a little. "Thank you, Elder Bai Ji." Lu Yuan turned around and thanked Bai Ji. "Don't mention it, it's only right. It's Bear Lord's fault." Bicky smiled gently, her eyes filled with kindness. She was also aware of Lu Yuan's background. Lu Yuan nodded slightly. He had a good impression of Bai Ji, who was the strongest healing-type soul beast. She was one of the few soul beasts that was sensible and kind. Although Lu Yuan himself wasn't very kind, he still had a bottom line. At the very least, he wouldn't do something like massacring a city. And it was precisely because he couldn't be kind and friendly to everyone that he admired Bicky even more. A hint of joy flashed across Di Tian's face when he saw Lu Yuan and Bai Ji chatting happily. It seemed like Lu Yuan and soul beasts were getting along quite well. In fact, even if Jiu Yuana and Lu Yuan didn't say anything to Di Tian was still able to guess something with his intelligence. He was also an existence that was half a step into the realm of gods. 10 years ago, the supreme pressure contained within the purple light was definitely an existence that far surpassed that of a god. Di Tian was also well aware of this point. As for the master Jiu Yuana's plans, Di Tian could also make some guesses. He rolled his eyes and looked at the few ferocious beasts present. He then waved at Lu Yuan. "What's the matter?" Lu Yuan was puzzled as he looked at Di Tian. However, he still walked to his side. Di Tian looked at the few huge savage beasts in front of him and said, "I'll introduce all of you to each other today. Everyone can get familiar with each other so that we can cooperate better in the future." Lu Yuan looked at the savage beasts in front of him. The savage beasts were also looking at Lu Yuan. They were sizing him up. They didn't know why Di Tian was introducing a human to them. "This is Bai Ji." Her original form is a 500,000-year-old emerald swan. I think you should already know her, Di Tian said to Lu Yuan. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded. This good-for-nothing is the Bear Lord. He's a 400,000-year-old dark golden terror claw bear. I think you should already know him, Di Tian said. I do know him. Who doesn't know the Bear Lord who hurts people behind their backs? Lu Yuan said as he twisted his mouth. You. The Bear Lord glared furiously at Lu Yuan with his huge yellow eyes. He lifted his claws, and seemed like he was about to attack. Oh! Long Xiaoyaro snorted coldly. He moved and appeared in front of Lu Yuan. His aura as an ultimate Douluo suppressed the Bear Lord. There was a strong killing intent in his eyes. Oh! The remaining savage beasts turned serious when they sensed Long Xiaoyao's aura. This human's aura wasn't much weaker than Di Tian's. Bear Lord. Di Tian glared at the Bear Lord with his golden eyes. There was a deep chill in his eyes. The Bear Lord's body shook as he was suppressed by two ultimate Douluos. He slowly lowered his claws and lowered his head. Long Xiaoyaro snorted coldly when he saw this scene. He retreated to Lu Yuan's side. Di Tian heaved a sigh of relief and continued his introduction. This is the Myriad Demon King. His cultivation has reached 500,000 years. His original form is a demonic eye tree. Lu Yuan nodded when he heard this. He knew a little about the Myriad Demon King. He should be the most powerful plant-type soul beast on the Douluo continent. He was much stronger than Tang San's mother, the Blue-Silver Emperor. This is the Scarlet King. He's a 290,000-year three-headed scarlet devil hound. Lu Yuan looked over and nodded. The Scarlet King was equivalent to a rank 97 titled Douluo. He was slightly weaker than a rank 98 titled Douluo, but he was still much more powerful than the Sky Azure Bull Python. After all, the Sky Azure Bull Python was only comparable to a rank 96 titled Douluo. There was a huge gap between each rank above the transcendent Douluo level. The last one is ZG. She's a 200,000-year, demonic infernal dragon monarch. Lu Yuan interrupted before Di Tian could finish his sentence. You know her? Di Tian turned to Lu Yuan with a curious look. I don't know her, but she has a strong dragon bloodline in her body. I can feel it, but it's a pity that her bloodline is not pure. Lu Yuan looked at the only ferocious beast in human form and said. ZG had transformed into a woman. She had a head of long purple hair, and an extremely voluptuous figure. She had a wild charm that was completely different from Bicky. I can also sense the bloodline in your body. It's a very pure dragon bloodline. It seems to be even purer than Di Tian's. ZG heard Lu Yuan's words. She looked at Lu Yuan and said indifferently, Hearing ZG's words, even the Bear Lord, Thousand Goblin King, Red King, and the other ferocious beasts looked at Lu Yuan. This kid actually had a dragon bloodline that was even purer than Di Tian's. Di Tian was the current leader of the Black Dragon race, and he possessed the purest Black Dragon bloodline. How was this kid superior to him? Ahem. Di Tian cleared his throat at the sight of the great beasts, and said, Let me introduce Lu Yuan to all of you. He's a golden dragon in human form, and he possesses the purest golden dragon bloodline. He's also the one with the purest golden dragon bloodline in our dragon race. Lu Yuan. Chapter 221. A few black lines appeared on Lu Yuan's forehead as he looked at the eloquent Di Tian. When did he transform into a golden dragon? The reason why you can't see his true form is because Master has done something to his body. Even though his cultivation is still low and he's still in his infancy, you still can't see his true form. He's actually not a human. He's a dragon. Furthermore, he's a golden dragon. Di Tian's voice was impassioned, but Lu Yuan's face couldn't help but twitch. Di Tian with thick eyebrows and big eyes, how dare you lie through your teeth? When did he transform into a golden dragon? He's clearly a human. Lu Yuan was grumbling in his heart. However, he could somewhat guess what Di Tian was thinking. The relationship between humans and soul beasts wasn't good these days. Although it hadn't reached the climax of the Fighting Two era, soul beasts were still very wary of humans. Even if a human had the bloodline of a dragon, it was basically impossible for him to fuse with a soul beast. Di Tian said this because he wanted Hua Yuhao to completely fuse with a soul beast. After all, even if a soul beast transformed into a human, it was still a soul beast. In this way, other soul beasts wouldn't resist him. After all, they were still of the same species. However, even though he understood, Lu Yuan was still a little unhappy when someone said that he was a golden dragon. How could a mere dragon compare to a human? Humans were the wisest of all creatures. They were born with natural Tao bodies. Wasn't it better to be a human than a dragon? However, Di Tian's words were most likely not his idea. It was probably Gu Yuana's idea. After all, even though Di Tian was smart, he couldn't have thought of such things. Only Gu Yuana could have thought of such things. You really want to tie me to a dragon? Hua Yuhao didn't know how he felt about Gu Yuana anymore. She was very innocent at times, but she was also very scheming at other times. The key was that she schemed against him, but she didn't have any ill intentions. Instead, Lu Yuan couldn't even find a reason to be angry. Ari, this is the real reason why I don't want to give you the esoteric character. I am still afraid of you. Lu Yuan sighed. Gu Yuana was far too powerful, and he was far too weak. Even though Gu Yuana had promised him that soul beasts wouldn't initiate a war with humans, Lu Yuan was still skeptical. This was because he couldn't do anything to Gu Yuana, nor did he have any means to prevent or cure her. For Lu Yuan, who was used to having everything under control, this was undoubtedly an extremely difficult thing to accept. Therefore, he wanted to become stronger as soon as possible. At the same time, he didn't want Gu Yuana's strength to increase too much. Without the secret character, even with the life spirit crystal, Gu Yuana would need at least 50 years to recover her God-King level strength. In 50 years, Lu Yuan would have long become a god. He might even have comprehended clear Qi divine power and created his own deity position. When that happened, no matter how strong Gu Yuana was, he would have the ability to control everything. As Lu Yuan was thinking, the few savage beasts couldn't help but turn to look at Lu Yuan after hearing Di Tian's words. Their eyes were filled with shock, and they didn't reject him anymore. After all, according to Di Tian, this youth in front of them was the same as them. They were all soul beasts. Naturally, they weren't as afraid of Lu Yuan as they were of humans. Even the anger in the Bear Lord's eyes dissipated after hearing Di Tian's words. So you're actually a golden dragon in human form. No wonder your bloodline is purer than Di Tian's. Ziji looked at Lu Yuan with a strange look in her eyes. The golden dragon was one of the two purest bloodlines in the dragon race. It was of a higher grade than all the other dragon bloodlines. The silver dragon had disappeared a long time ago, and the golden dragon's bloodline was also very thin. They thought that the pure golden dragon's bloodline was long gone, and only a small portion of the golden dragon's bloodline was left. They didn't expect to see a golden dragon in human form today. The few savage beasts were astonished. Furthermore, the lord that Di Tian mentioned had used her own methods to conceal her identity. This was even more unusual. The lord that Di Tian mentioned was the supreme ruler of all soul beasts. Since she had personally taken action, did this mean that this youth had some important mission? This was very likely the case. The few savage beasts immediately thought of many things. As for whether Di Tian would lie, the few savage beasts didn't doubt him at all. Di Tian was the strongest savage beast, and he didn't like to lie. Just based on the fact that Di Tian mentioned the Lord, the few savage beasts were certain that Di Tian was telling the truth. This was because Di Tian was very loyal to the Lord, and he wouldn't use the Lord to lie. However, what the ferocious beasts didn't know was that Di Tian was actually lying. Furthermore, it was their master who had ordered Di Tian to say this. I'll announce something to everyone here. This is also an order from the Lord. From today onwards, Lu Yuan is the Great Star Do Forest's most important guest. All soul beasts have to bow to him when they see him, including 100,000-year soul beasts. Therefore, all of you should understand what I mean. Di Tian looked at the few savage beasts. Understood. The few savage beasts nodded. Since this was an order from both the Lord and Di Tian, they had to carry it out even if they weren't willing. After all, Di Tian was the boss of the Great Stardo Forest. Fists were still the most useful thing in this day and age. Furthermore, a golden dragon with a pure bloodline had a very high status. He was qualified to make 100,000-year soul beasts bow to him. Since all of you understand, then go back first. Greet the fellows in your tribes and territories. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude if anyone offends Lu Yuan in the future. Di Tian said. Yes. After hearing Di Tian's words, the few savage beasts retreated one after another. Only Ziji was still sizing up Lu Yuan with a curious look in her eyes before she left. As a member of the Dragon Clan, she had been interested in the Golden Dragon Clan, which was the most powerful clan in the Dragon Clan, for a very long time. However, today wasn't a good time to interact with him. If there was a chance in the future, she wanted to get closer to Lu Yuan. The few savage beasts left, including the Bear Lord. Only Lu Yuan, Long Xiaoyaro, Di Tian, Bai Ji, and the two guardian savage beasts were left. Sky Azure Bull Python, Titan Giant Ape, come over. Di Tian waved his hand. The two soul beasts came over eagerly. Although they were 100,000-year soul beasts, they were really just little brothers in the core region. Normally, when Di Tian and the others didn't come out, the two of them could still show off. However, when Di Tian and the other savage beasts came out, they were in an awkward position. They could only guard the door. Chapter 222. Each and every one of these great beasts had over 200,000 years of cultivation, which meant that each and every one of them was comparable to a rank 97 titled Douluo, which meant that they were far more powerful than the Sky Azure Bull Python and the Titan Giant Ape. The Sky Azure Bull Python was slightly more powerful, but it only had a cultivation base of over 100,000 years, which was a far cry from these great beasts. From now on, the two of you are Lu Yuan's subordinates. You'll do whatever he tells you to do, understood? Di Tian said. Yes, Master Di Tian. The Sky Azure Bull Python lowered its massive head in acknowledgement. The Titan Giant Ape threw its head back and roared before slapping its own chest in a gesture of submission. Is this all right, Di Tian? Lu Yuan's brows furrowed as he appraised Di Tian. This was an organization of soul beasts. Was it really all right to hand it over to him? Furthermore, if he were to do this, he would definitely become even more entangled with the soul beasts. This is Master's will. Di Tian replied with a smile. Is it her idea? Lu Yuan was silent for a moment, then sighed slightly and said, then I'll accept it. Gu Yuana, you sure have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. Master. The Sky Azure Bull Python lowered its head slightly toward Lu Yuan as it extended a salute. It wasn't all that opposed to becoming Lu Yuan's subordinate. What it pursued the most in its life was to become a dragon, and the Golden Dragon was one of the most powerful beings in the dragon race. Even if it did become a dragon, it would still be inferior to Lu Yuan, so it was quite willing to submit to Lu Yuan. The Titan Giant Ape patted its chest before lowering its head. It had always followed the Sky Azure Bull Python's lead, and since the latter had submitted, it would naturally submit as well. Can this Titan Giant Ape not speak? Lu Yuan asked. It can, but it's not very proficient at speaking, the Sky Azure Bull Python replied. I see. Then you have to teach it more in the future. Otherwise, if it keeps roaring, I won't be able to understand it, Lu Yuan said. Yes, Master, the Sky Azure Bull Python replied. A thought seemed to have occurred to Lu Yuan, and a thought suddenly occurred to him as he said, oh, by the way, I encountered a 100,000-year-old soft bone rabbit in the human world. Her name is Xiao Wu. I'm sure you know her, right? Master, have you seen Xiao Wu? How is Xiao Wu doing? The Sky Azure Bull Python's voice was tinged with a hint of urgency, and its eyes were filled with concern. The Titan Giant Ape's ears also perked up. You guys seem to care a lot about her, but you don't have to worry. She's still very safe, but... Lu Yuan paused. But what? The the sky azure ball python hurriedly asked. Tang azure ball tang, the sky azure ball, tang tang, tang, the sky azure dragon tang, tang, the sky azure beast tang, tang, tang tang to the sky azure tang 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 tangs tang 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 tangs tangs tang 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 tangs tang 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 tangs tang and tang tang tang. The Titan giant ape let loose an enraged roar with a hint of indignation. Tang San has a father by the name of Tang Hao, and his are titled Douluo, so. Lu Yuan purposely took a glance at the sky azure ball python as he spoke. Titled Douluo? A hint of concern appeared in the sky azure ball python's eyes. It knew that Xiao Wu was a 100,000-year-old soft-bone rabbit. Normal people wouldn't be able to see through her, but a titled Douluo would definitely be able to identify her. The soul ring and soul bone of a 100,000-year-old soul beast were extremely tempting to humans. If that Tang Hao had any ill intentions toward Xiao Wu, then there was no way that Xiao Wu would be able to survive. My lord, please help us. As long as you can guarantee Xiao Wu's safety, the two of us will be loyal to you for the rest of our lives. Our lives are yours. The sky azure ball python prostrated itself on the ground. The Titan giant ape also fell to its knees before kowtowing to Lu Yuan. The two overlords of the forest were begging Lu Yuan for the sake of a 100,000-year-old rabbit. Xiao Wu, you're so lucky. Even Lu Yuan couldn't help but be moved by the feelings that these two overlords had for Xiao Wu. However, that being said, he still had to do what he had to do. Don't worry, Tang Hao and I have some bad blood between us. Besides, we're from the same race, so I'll be sure to protect Xiao Wu. On top of that, Tang Hao wants Xiao Wu to become his son's soul ring. After all, Tang Hao is already a titled Douluo, so he doesn't need a soul ring. Tang San's soul power is still quite low, so Xiao Wu isn't in any danger yet, so don't worry, Lu Yuan said. Then I'll leave Xiao Wu to you, Master, the sky azure ball python said in a grateful manner. Don't worry about it. Seeing as you're my subordinates, I have to be considerate of you, Lu Yuan said with a smile. According to the information that I've received, Xiao Wu will be coming to the Great Star Do Forest with Tang San in about 2 years. You can bring Xiao Wu back to the Great Star Do Forest. Won't you be able to protect her then? In the meantime, I'll send some of my subordinates in the human world to protect Xiao Wu. Lu Yuan continued. Thank you, Master, the sky azure ball python said with a grateful nod. The Titan giant ape was also kowtowing to Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan couldn't help but heave a faint sigh at the sight of these two overlords. Both of these mythological beasts treated Xiao Wu far better than Tang San, but it was a pity that Xiao Wu didn't know how to cherish her. Instead, she fell in love with that hypocritical Tang San. There was no actual conflict between him and Tang San, but there was no turning back for the enmity between Tang San and the Martial Soul Palace. For the sake of the Martial Soul Palace, Lu Yuan could only set things up in advance to target him. Furthermore, in the original work, Tang San killed Bibi Dong in the end and caused Chen Renshua's guardhood to shatter. He even caused Hu Liena to witness her teacher's death, leaving her alone for the rest of her life. Of the 4 most important women in Lu Yuan's life, Tang San alone had hurt 3 of them. If Lu Yuan didn't get his revenge, then he would have lived his life in vain. He wouldn't kill Tang San so soon, but he also wouldn't let Tang San live so freely. Since Cher and senior sister in the original novel couldn't obtain love, then Tang San won't be able to be with the woman he loves for the rest of his life. Once you come to the Great Star Do Forest, that will be the final farewell between you and Xiao Wu. Furthermore, the sky azure ball python and the Titan giant ape, these 200,000-year soul beasts, will have no fate with you. You want their soul rings and soul bones? Then you must be dreaming. Furthermore, the Titan giant ape soul rings are very suitable for my golden dragon. When the time comes, I'll just have to sacrifice the Titan giant ape to me. After what happened today, I'm sure the Titan giant ape won't refuse. Lu Yuan thought to himself, and was very pleased with his plan. Chapter 223. Di Tian watched Lu Yuan's actions from the side. He could vaguely feel that Lu Yuan was targeting Tang San. However, he didn't care, because Tang San was a human. Even if Lu Yuan were to chop Tang San into pieces in front of him, Di Tian wouldn't be moved at all. He might even help out. Furthermore, Di Tian didn't think that Tang Hao was planning anything good by not attacking Xiao Wu. Perhaps it was like what Lu Yuan said, and he was waiting for Tang San to grow so that he could kill Xiao Wu to make a soul ring for Tang San. After all, which human wouldn't covet the soul ring of 100,000-year soul beast? In any case, Di Tian didn't believe it. In Di Tian's opinion, Tang San and Xiao Wu were very close, but once Xiao Wu's identity was exposed, he would be the first person to make a move on her. It was normal for humans to be heartless. Furthermore, he felt that Lu Yuan's way of doing things was very straightforward and honest. He was very much to Di Tian's liking. As expected of someone with the Golden Dragon's bloodline, he had the magnanimity of a dragon. In this way, since Lu Yuan was targeting Tang San, it was likely that Tang San wasn't a good person. Since that was the case, why should he be a busybody and ruin Lu Yuan's plans? In fact, Di Tian's thoughts weren't completely wrong. Hypothetically speaking, if Xiao Wu and Tang San weren't in love, Tang Hao could really imprison Xiao Wu and wait for Tang San to need a soul ring before killing Xiao Wu to take her soul ring and her soul bone. One shouldn't think too highly of a person's character. When a human soul master heard that someone who wasn't related to him was a 100,000-year soul beast, his first thought would be to kill her and take her soul bone. There was no doubt that this was the first thought of all soul masters on the Douluo continent. There were very few exceptions, unless the soul beast was closely related to them. Therefore, in the original work, when Chihiro Disease led a team to hunt iron, it was an unforgivable crime in the eyes of Tang Hao. However, in the eyes of the entire world of soul masters, it was a very normal thing. What was there to criticize about a soul master hunting a soul beast? Wasn't it a matter of course? In the original novel, Xiao Wu's identity was exposed and Bibidon wanted to kill Xiao Wu. Why didn't Ning Fengji and the others dare to stop him? This was because it was very normal for soul cultivators to hunt soul beasts. What reason could he use to stop them? He could only remain silent. Perhaps he also had similar thoughts in his heart. Looking at the two mythological beasts, Lu Yuan sighed and said, "I have nothing to do here for the time being. You two go back and guard the gate. I want to stay here for a while. Is that all right, Di Tian?" Lu Yuan turned to look at Di Tian. "Of course, you can cultivate for as long as you want." Di Tian naturally wouldn't reject Lu Yuan's request. In his opinion, the longer Lu Yuan stayed, the better. This way, the relationship between the soul beasts and Lu Yuan would become even closer. "Thank you." Lu Yuan expressed his gratitude. Then, "Master Di Tian, we'll be going back now," the Sky Azure Ball Python said. "All right." Lu Yuan nodded. Di Tian also nodded in response. Seeing as the two of them had agreed, the Sky Azure Ball Python and Titan Giant Ape left. Lu Yuan's words had dealt a heavy blow to the two mythological beasts, and they were both feeling a little conflicted and a little concerned. As for whether Lu Yuan's words were true or not, even the Sky Azure Ball Python was convinced. In his eyes, humans were just that despicable. Tang Hao and his son were drooling over Xiao Wu's soul ring and soul bone, and as the paramount golden dragon of the dragon tribe, Lu Yuan couldn't possibly lie to them. Dragons disdained lying. However, what they did not know was that the dragon clan indeed disdained to lie. Lu Yuan usually did not like to lie, but when it came to Tang San, it was different. Lu Yuan would only be satisfied if he played him to death. After the two mythological beasts left, Lu Yuan stretched lazily. He was planning to stay by the Lake of Life for a while longer. After all, the life force energy here was very abundant, and it was very beneficial to his cultivation. Of course, Jiu Yuana's life force energy was even more abundant, so why didn't Lu Yuan go to her place to cultivate? It was because Jiu Yuana was too beautiful, and it was very easy for him to be distracted by her beauty. This had nothing to do with whether he liked her or not. It was like seeing a beautiful woman, and even if he didn't like her, he couldn't help but want to take a few more glances at her. As such, he decided not to go see her. That should be enough. Lu Yuan sat down with his legs crossed and began to circulate his clear aura scripture. The effects of cultivating by the Lake of Life were indeed extraordinary. Lu Yuan had just entered a meditative state when streaks of spiritual energy flowed into Lu Yuan's body. After that, they were converted into pure soul power by the clear aura scripture. Di Tian stared at Lu Yuan for a while before nodding and turning to leave. Long Xiaoyao's figure flashed, and he sat down not far from Lu Yuan. He was protecting Lu Yuan. Although Lu Yuan's relationship with Di Tian and the others seemed to be very harmonious, Long Xiaoyao still didn't trust them. He felt that he would be most at ease if he was the one protecting his master. 4 hours later, it was dusk. The sun was hanging in the sky, and the afterglow of the setting sun shone on the Lake of Life. Green ripples rippled, and coupled with the tranquility at this moment, it really felt like a peaceful time. Lu Yuan opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The Lake of Life was indeed extraordinary. It had only been 4 hours, but the results were equivalent to a night's worth of cultivation. His speed had increased by almost 2 times. Thinking about it this way, Jiyu Yuana's place could increase his cultivation speed by at least 3 to 4 times. As he thought about it, Lu Yuan was a little tempted. He couldn't reject such a cultivation speed. Should I find some time to cultivate there? Lu Yuan thought to himself. Seeing that Lu Yuan had opened his eyes, Long Xiaoyao heaved a sigh of relief. Since his master had finished cultivating, he didn't have to protect him anymore. Lu Yuan stretched his back and rubbed his stomach. He was a little hungry. Just as he was about to ask Di Tian to send someone to find something to eat, a golden figure appeared in front of him. It was covered in golden fur, and its entire body seemed to be made of translucent crystals. It was filled with a strange texture. Its overall shape was very similar to a lion, but its 4 claws were like that of a dragon. Each of its claws was stepping on a ball of golden flames. Its mouth was also slightly longer than that of lion-type soul beasts. Under its fur, there seemed to be golden scales. Other than its 2 eyes, there was a third eye. It was a vertical pupil. Its 2 normal eyes shone with gold, but its vertical pupil was red. It had a demonic red to it. Emperor Beast, 3-eyed golden lion. Lu Yuan recognized this soul beast immediately. It was the Emperor Beast of the Great Star Do Forest, the 3-eyed golden lion. It was also favored by the fortune of the Great Star Do Forest. Wherever it was, all soul beasts' cultivation speed would double. 100,000-year soul beasts' chances of breaking through a bottleneck would double. This was why it was called the Emperor Beast by all soul beasts. Chapter 224. This 3-eyed golden lion was very beautiful. Yes, it was beautiful. This was the first time Lu Yuan had used the word beautiful to describe a soul beast. Even the Silver Dragon King, Jiyu Yuana, looked like a clown to Lu Yuan. However, this 3-eyed golden lion was different. Its entire body exuded a sense of exquisiteness. Lu Yuan dared to say that this 3-eyed golden lion was the top soul beast in the world of soul beasts based on its appearance alone. Where did this soul beast come from? Long Xiaoyao lifted his hand and was about to chase it away. While this soul beast was very beautiful, Long Xiaoyao didn't want it to disturb his master. While this soul beast resembled the legendary Emperor Beast, the 3-eyed golden lion, it was no different from an ordinary soul beast in Long Xiaoyao's eyes. Elder Long, stop. Lu Yuan interrupted Long Xiaoyao's actions. As he watched the 3-eyed golden lion come closer and closer, he felt a rare sense of closeness to it. It was a sense of closeness that originated from their bloodline. Long Xiaoyao retracted his arm after being stopped by Lu Yuan. He looked at Lu Yuan suspiciously. Why does my master seem to have a different feeling towards this soul beast? It's a sense of closeness. Yes, it's a sense of closeness. This was the first time he had seen his master act like this when he met Chihiro Snow. It was a sense of closeness that originated from the heart. As he looked at the 2-meter-long 3-eyed golden lion, Lu Yuan knew that she only had 20,000 years of cultivation. She was still a distance away from the 15,000 years of cultivation that she had during the Second Fighting Era. As an emperor beast, the three-eyed golden lion could increase the cultivation speed of other soul beasts. However, her own cultivation speed was normal. There was no way to increase it. How many years she had lived was how many years of cultivation she had. However, the three-eyed golden lion was an extremely powerful soul beast. She was even stronger than the Titan giant ape and the dark golden terraclaw bear of the same rank. She possessed ultimate light and ultimate fire. Furthermore, she had the bloodline of the golden dragon. This made her physical body extraordinarily strong. While she was only 5,000 years old, she had no problem dealing with ordinary soul emperors or even soul sages. Furthermore, the three-eyed golden Ni lions were emperor beasts. They didn't have any barriers to cultivation, nor did they have to face any heavenly tribulations. This was because they controlled the power of fate. The three-eyed golden lion's silhouette was getting closer and closer. Soon, it was only 3 meters away from Lu Yuan. My lord. Long Xiaoyaro was shocked. He was afraid that the three-eyed golden lion would harm his master. However, Lu Yuan didn't allow him to do anything. Thus, he could only remind Long Xiaoyaro verbally. At the same time, he was prepared to attack at any time. Lu Yuan looked at the three-eyed golden lion. The three-eyed golden lion stared back at Lu Yuan, its vertical pupils sizing up Lu Yuan. Its 2 golden eyes were filled with doubt. He seemed to feel that the person in front of him was a little familiar. The three-eyed golden lion had never felt this way before. The three-eyed golden lion was an auspicious emperor beast. Even though it only had 5,000 years of cultivation, its intelligence was extremely high. Auspicious emperor beasts could develop intelligence at 100 years of age. This 5,000-year three-eyed golden lion's intelligence was comparable to that of a 10,000-year soul beast. It wasn't much worse than a human. At most, it was because it didn't know as much, and was more innocent. As he looked at the three-eyed golden lion, Lu Yuan smiled. The aura of the golden dragon's bloodline swept out. Suddenly, the three-eyed golden lion's golden eyes brightened. The way it looked at Lu Yuan also became much friendlier. Lu Yuan's bloodline was much more powerful than the three-eyed golden lion's. However, Lu Yuan controlled his aura very well. He only made the three-eyed golden lion feel friendlier, but he didn't suppress her. Little fellow. Lu Yuan smiled and leaned towards the three-eyed golden lion. My lord, be careful. Long Xiaoyaro couldn't help but remind him. It's all right, Elder Long. Lu Yuan waved his hand and came in front of the three-eyed golden lion. He half-squatted down and extended his right hand to gently rub its head under the three-eyed golden lion's golden eyes. Lu Yuan's hand carried a warm aura. The three-eyed golden lion felt so comfortable that it couldn't help but squint its eyes. It gently rubbed its head against Lu Yuan's palm. Hee. Lu Yuan chortled as he stroked the golden fur on its neck. The three-eyed golden lion in front of him was probably the only one in the entire Douluo continent who had the same bloodline as him, even if it was a soul beast. However, Lu Yuan had a very good impression of it, both in the past and in the present. It seems like the two of you are getting along very well. Di Tian's figure suddenly appeared. He held a few strange fruits in his hand that emitted a faint fragrance. It has the same bloodline as me, Lu Yuan said as he stroked the three-eyed golden lion's soft fur again. Yes, indeed. The two of you are probably the only ones in the world who have the golden dragon's bloodline, Di Tian said as he passed the fruits to Lu Yuan. This is your dinner. This fruit is not bad. It has the effect of tempering one's body and increasing one's soul power. I think it should be of some help to you. Di Tian said. Thanks. Lu Yuan received the fruits and washed them with the spring water from the Lake of Life. He tossed one to Long Xiaoyaro. He still had 3 left. Little fellow, do you want some? Lu Yuan placed one of the fruits in front of the three-eyed golden lion. The three-eyed golden lion's golden eyes looked at Lu Yuan before it looked at the fruit in Lu Yuan's hand. After that, it opened its mouth and swallowed the fruit in Lu Yuan's hand. Good boy. Lu Yuan stroked the three-eyed golden lion's head with a smile on his face. The man and beast were actually getting along very well. Long Xiaoyaro stood not too far away and nibbled on the fruit as he observed the dark night sky. Di Tian disappeared after he gave the fruit to the three-eyed golden lion. In the strange space under the lake of life, Di Tian knelt on one knee and said, "Master, I see that Lu Yuan and the auspicious beast are getting along very well. It seems like he really likes the auspicious beast. Master, you asked me to bring the auspicious beast to see him, and it worked. Now, he's even closer to us. That's normal. After all, they share the same bloodline. It's natural for them to be close." Jiu Yuana's pleasant voice rang out. But what? Di Tian asked doubtfully. But with his intelligence, he'll find out sooner or later. When that happens, he'll probably be angry with me. Jiu Yuana said. Master, what should we do then? Di Tian asked. Bring him to see me tomorrow. I'll talk to him personally. Won't he be angry if you talk to him personally? Di Tian didn't understand. He should be angry, but he should be angry. Are you special? He said that he likes beautiful women. Di Tian, do you think I'm beautiful? Jiu Yuana revealed her beautiful face and looked at Di Tian with her purple eyes as she asked. What? Di Tian was confused. What does this have to do with your beauty? However, he still answered Jiu Yuana's question. Of course you're beautiful. Jiu Yuana said, since I'm so beautiful, and he likes beautiful women, I think he won't be angry with me if I confess to him. In addition to my beautiful face, I'm sure he won't be angry with me. Di Tian's mouth twitched when he heard Jiu Yuana muttering to herself. What does his anger have to do with your beauty? I really don't understand. Could this be the Lord's realm? Di Tian thought to himself. Chapter 225. As the strongest soul master in the great Stardow forest, the leader of the savage beasts, the Golden Eyes Black Dragon King, Di Tian really didn't know what beauty was. Was beauty that important? In Di Tian's eyes, strength was the most important thing. He couldn't understand Jiu Yuana's words at all. After all, there were too few soul beasts who knew how to fall in love. Most of them did it for the sake of passing down their bloodlines and for the sake of reproduction. The word love was foreign to soul beasts, including Di Tian. Therefore, he really couldn't understand what Jiu Yuana meant when she said that Lu Yuan wasn't angry because she was beautiful. What did being angry have to do with being beautiful? Di Tian really didn't understand. However, he respected the Silver Dragon King from the bottom of his heart. Since his master said it, it naturally couldn't be wrong. Since his master couldn't be wrong, then his inability to understand meant that his realm wasn't high enough. Di Tian couldn't help but blame himself. It seemed like he had to work harder in his cultivation. Compared to his master, he was really too far away. Yes, my lord. I'll bring Lu Yuan to see you tomorrow. Di Tian nodded slightly before disappearing into thin air. The next day, Lu Yuan still hadn't woken up. Suddenly, he felt something wet on his face. Lu Yuan opened his eyes and realized that it was the three-eyed golden lion licking him. Is it daybreak? Looking at the slightly brighter sky, the sun in the east hadn't risen yet. It was only emitting a red light. It was the prelude to the rising sun. Lu Yuan's polychoria shrank, and he could see the purple chi in the sky. If he had the purple demon eyes, he would be able to absorb the nascent purple chi to cultivate. However, he already had his polychoria. He didn't care about trash like the purple demon eyes. However, it wasn't as if there weren't any other techniques that could use the nascent purple gas other than the purple demon eyes. There was a saying in Taoism that one could eat the clouds and drink the dew. Naturally, the purple gas could be absorbed to raise one's cultivation. Coincidentally, Lu Yuan's clear chi scripture could do that. Moreover, this purple chi was exceptionally pure, but there was too little of it. Although it was beneficial to cultivation, it wasn't great. Therefore, Lu Yuan had rarely used it over the years. He circulated the clear chi scripture and absorbed all the purple chi in the sky into his body. This purple chi was really pure. In an instant, it turned into the sole power of the clear Qi scripture and circulated mightily. 15 minutes later, the blazing sun rose, and the purple clouds dissipated. Lu Yuan sighed softly. Every day, there was only a quarter of an hour. The time was really too short. Although the purple Qi had many benefits, how much effect could it have in such a short time? Although it could increase the speed of cultivation, it was only comparable to a normal hour. Now that Lu Yuan was by the Lake of Life, his cultivation speed was at least twice as fast. Therefore, Lu Yuan didn't really care about this small increase in cultivation speed. If he remembered, he would absorb and refine it. If he didn't, then so be it. He wasn't like Tang San, who waited for the purple Qi to cultivate his purple demon eyes every day. With his polychoria, his eyesight was improving every day. Everyone looked like a crawling turtle to him. Little fellow. Lu Yuan patted the three-eyed golden lion's head. Do you have a name? Name? The three-eyed golden lion spoke in a young and tender voice. You can talk. Lu Yuan looked at the three-eyed golden lion in amazement. It had only been 5,000 years, but it could already talk. Was this emperor beast really that amazing? A little. The three-eyed golden lion's clear voice rang out again. Ha ha. Lu Yuan laughed when he heard this. Being able to talk was much better than not being able to talk. If it couldn't talk, then he could only guess what it was thinking. However, it wasn't that easy to guess what it was thinking. However, if it could talk, then he could communicate with it directly. That would be much more convenient. Little fellow, do you have a name? Lu Yuan asked. No. The three-eyed golden lion shook its head. Then I'll give you a name. How about I call you Chou-er? Lu Yuan smiled. Chou-er. That's a nice name. I'll be called Chou-er from now on. The three-eyed golden lion blinked its golden eyes and nodded its head. Lu Yuan patted the three-eyed golden lion's head. Speaking of Chou-er's name reminded him of Wang Chou-er's tragic ending in the original novel. He was even more certain that his plan yesterday was correct. Tang San, this fellow, had to be properly tormented. I'm Lu Yuan. You can call me Big Brother from now on. I'll call you Chou-er. How about that? Lu Yuan revealed a smile on his face. Okay, Big Brother. The three-eyed golden lion's clear voice rang out. Chou-er. Big Brother. Lu Yuan smiled and patted its head again. He had another little sister now. In terms of bloodline, it made sense for him to have this little sister. The two of them chatted happily. Suddenly, Di Tian appeared again. Master wants to see you, Di Tian said. Wants to see me? Lu Yuan furrowed his brows. What does this Jiu Yuana want? However, since she wants to see me, there's no harm in me going to see her. Wait here for a while, Chou-er. I'll be back to play with you in a while. Lu Yuan smiled and said. Okay. A clear voice rang in Lu Yuan's ears. In the strange space at the bottom of the Lake of Life, Di Tian's figure slowly disappeared again. He knew that the following conversation wasn't something he should know. Why are you looking for me? Lu Yuan's voice was calm as he looked at Jiu Yuana's beautiful face. It seems like you're getting along well with the auspicious beast. Jiu Yuana smiled. Heh, didn't you send Chou-er to me? Lu Yuan looked at Jiu Yuana with a half-smile. You knew. Jiu Yuana's eyes were filled with surprise. Am I that stupid? Lu Yuan looked at her strangely and said, Di Tian appeared not long after Chou-er appeared. Isn't that obvious? Jiu Yuana was a little curious. Aren't you angry at all? Angry? Why should I be angry? I like Chou-er very much. She's like a little sister to me. There's a sense of closeness that comes from the depths of my bloodline. However, I also hope that this is the last time. I don't like the feeling of being schemed against. However, this isn't the first time it's happened to you. Lu Yuan said plainly. Jiu Yuana was silent. Lu Yuan looked at Jiu Yuana's beautiful face and took 2 steps forward. The distance between the two of them was less than a foot. Jiu Yuana panicked as she looked at Lu Yuan, who was so close to her. Lu Yuan stretched out his right hand and lifted Jiu Yuana's chin as she looked at him in disbelief. He looked at her carefully. "You're really beautiful. It's a pity. If only you could think less about it." Jiu Yuana's heart started to beat faster as she felt the warmth from Lu Yuan's fingertips. "No one has ever treated you like this before, right?" Lu Yuan revealed a gentle smile on his face. Jiu Yuana blushed when she saw Lu Yuan's smile. At the same time, a strange feeling rose in her heart. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.